somebody gets wheeled in the ambulance, are you going to stop? Be like, no, we can't take this. Sorry. We can't take this person.
Live pretty nigga rich. Flacco be this shit. And that bitch, no, we poppin', so she poppin' on this dick.
Panda's here. What's up, Panda?
Can't forget little flip. And I take
Tipsy, I saw you join as well. So we just watched some of the Sunday news programs to see what was going on out there. Lindsey Graham lost his mind talking about the FISA warrant and all this Christopher Steele nonsense. Whatever. Let it play out. It'll be just about as big as probably the voting commission that Trump put together to figure out how the 3 million people voted illegally, yet the little commission disappeared without providing any results. Did Lindsey ever have a mind to lose? He's, the funny thing about Lindsey Graham is he goes back and forth between being a sane person and being nuts. Lindsey Graham, he's the one who stood up to Trump when he said, let's pull out of Syria. Lindsey Graham has stood up to Trump. Lindsey Graham said that he wants to introduce a resolution to bring back the 60 vote requirement for judicial picks. He said it. He's not going to do it, but he said it. So Lindsey Graham isn't completely bonkers, but he is going down this rabbit hole of investigate the investigators. I think it's dangerous. I think it's okay to do that, but it's about how you phrase it. When you're out there saying the FBI is corrupt and this investigation was illegal, you start to chip away at people's confidence in the Department of Justice. And you don't want to do that. That's reckless. That's dangerous. That means people won't cooperate with the Department of Justice. People won't trust the Department of Justice. And you are just fear-mongering at that point. Because if we don't trust our Department of Justice, which is an organization of 115,000 people, okay, there's going to be bad apples in any organization that size. We're going to have some serious problems in this country. I mean, look at the New York Police Department. It's an organization, I believe, 30,000 cops. Yet recently in the last year, 2 cops were convicted of detaining an 18-year-old woman and raping her, right, while she was in custody. So does that mean every single cop in New York City is a terrible person and we shouldn't trust them? No. There's always going to be bad apples in any organization that say or do stupid things. Not that I'm implying that Peter Strzok or Lisa Page or Bruce Orr or any of these characters did anything bad. None of them have been accused of anything beyond sending some text messages. One of them is just hilarious, saying that Donald Trump should lose 120 million to zero, meaning Donald Trump wouldn't even vote for himself. Be more shocked if the IG didn't review and investigate a major case. There you go. I don't have a problem with the Inspector General doing their job and looking at, as Neuro just said, one of the biggest cases of the last decade and reviewing how it was done. But to jump to conclusions and say this was done illegally and we're going to find out about the spying that took place, come on, man. The commission dissolved after Democrats got access to the data they were using. There you go. Yeah, the one Democrat, right? Wasn't there one Democrat on the commission, the voting commission? So you mean like how the DNC is handling AG Barr right now? The DNC, Democratic National Committee? What are you talking about? That's a political organization. They have nothing to do. They can run some ads, I guess. Congress does have to keep an eye on the federal departments. Yeah, I mean, oversight is a huge part of what Congress does. Write laws and conduct oversight. That's what the House does. So for them to be doing their job of oversight, just like the Republicans did, I mean, we could make a case all day long about the overreach of the Republicans' oversight during Obama's administration. they held an attorney general in contempt also. They had 2 years of hearings on Benghazi and spent $7 million too.
We don't have fucking sound. God damn it.
This just seems
I always do that. I'm busy fucking recording shit at the end of the night, and then I forget to turn my mic back on. I apologize, people. I had some really good discourse going on here.
Created the Mueller investigation, not the Democrats. He's a Republican appointed by Trump. Oh, it doesn't even make sense what they're talking about.
Really important. Have you read this? Let's take a look.
The FBI are
Trump backers applaud Warren in heart of MAGA country. The liberal firebrand draws nods and even a few cheers on a trip through rural West Virginia.
I have not. Somebody else was talking about this in the Discord, though.
This is a long article.
And what's up, Midnight?
A really long article. I'm not going to read it.
Backers applaud Warren in heart of MAGA country. Is there a video or something? 150 people gathered at the Kermit Fire and Rescue Headquarters station to hear the Massachusetts senator and former professor talk about what she wants to do to fight the opioid.
See, this is why I just watch other people's streams. You're not going to read the whole thing? I guess I could do it.
This is a long article. Where's the
Told
video,
you.
folks?
Warren entered the room from behind a large American flag draped in the station, roving around a circle of people seated in fold-out chairs.
5 voters in the county voted for Trump, and they were nodding and applauding.
She tried to strike a tone equal parts empathy and fury while avoiding pity. She went full prairie populist, telling people, see, I hate that fucking pandering when you're coming from a big city and you're like, oh, I grew up in a little town, West Missouri, whatever. I hate that shit. I hate pandering, period. 60-year-old Fire Chief Wilbur Tommy Priest warned Warren and her team beforehand that the area was Trump country and not necessarily expected a friendly reception, but he also told her that the town would welcome anyone of any party who wanted to address the opioid crisis. Priest was the first responder to a reported overdose 2 years ago, only to discover that the victim was his younger brother, Timmy, who died. Wow. Priest said after the event that he voted for Trump and that the president has revitalized the area economically, but he gave Warren props for showing up. She's done good, he said. Others agreed. Leanne Blankenship, a 38-year-old coach and supervisor at a home visitation company who grew up in Kermit.
And people had never been scammed like that.
Let me make sure we're good.
Other examples,
38-year-old coach and supervisor at a home visitation company who grew up in Kermit and wore a sharp pink suit said she may now support Warren in 2020 after voting for Trump in 2016. I see a lot of that. I think that's the progressive message is a populist message, and Trump was the counter to a Republican message, where the only other option was perceivably a incumbent in a way, right? Instead, Warren was here to try to send a message that she's serious about tackling the problems of remote communities like this one. The opioid war is a medical problem rather than a behavioral or law enforcement one, Warren argued. Her plan is modeled on the government's response in 1990 to HIV and AIDS, as she explained in a Medium post earlier this week. But we got a second problem in this country, and it's greed, she said. People didn't get addicted all on their own. They got a lot of corporate help. They got a lot of help from corporations that made big money off of getting people addicted keeping them addicted. Kermit was subject of a Pulitzer Prize winning series in 2016 that found drug wholesalers provided a single pharmacy in the 392-person town with 9 million hydrocodone pills in over just 2 years. That's fucking 392 people, 9 million.
People thought he was making a mistake.
hydrocodone pills over just 2 years. Warren's plan would dole out $100 billion over the next decade to states, cities, and nonprofits, with extra money going to cities and counties with the highest levels of overdoses. See, I see a problem with that, though. Because what are we mandating with that money? Are we just throwing money at the problem and saying it'll go away? I don't think that's the right approach to anything. Right here in Mingo County, people are on the front lines of the opioid epidemic, and this is a way to draw attention to the urgency of the moment, she told reporters after the town hall. Warren's four-stop tour Friday and Saturday took her from the small towns of Kermit and Chilocothe, Ohio, to Columbus, Ohio, to Cincinnati. Then later, narcotics problem. The latter's narcotics problem is so bad that the local paper assigned a reporter to the heroin beat. Literally, one person whose job is only to expose the heroin problem.
And if anybody's wondering what Erdna just did, if you do exclamation point 2020, you'll see a full list of keywords.
All right. I think we're done with this.
2020 and the total of points they have. And the way you can
I think Warren's approach is pretty good. I think just throwing money at it and just saying it'll go away as a result of the money that we throw at the problem is not the right way to do it.
And show who you're excited about. And like I keep saying, it's infectious. I can sit up here and talk about who I support all day long, but it's really cool to see who you guys are excited about. And even just one bit towards your candidate is a way to express yourself. I think it's cool.
Express yourself before you wreck yourself. One bit is approximately a penny.
Debates. I'm not a big fan of debates, Sam, in general. I don't want to try to win anybody. I'd rather have a discussion. I'm open to talking to people that disagree with me, and you'll see me hanging out with right-wing people all the time and having discussions with them, but I don't really see value in debate. And some people have argued with this point with me on the stream many times. But I'm more interested in having a discussion and just kind of hearing people out instead of under the format of a debate where we are trying to clash with each other and conflict for drama's sake. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm open to talking to anyone. I'll just say that. Midnight said, do you see Trump more like Nixon or more like Jackson, or a mixture of both? I see him worse than both going forward, perhaps the worst president of all time. Trump is definitely the worst president of all time. Midnight, for sure.
What about Nixon?
Meet the Press, when Michael Bennett said it, how in the world do we have a $2 trillion deficit? I think he said $2 trillion deficit with unemployment.
Neuropilot.
Our economy is booming, and we have this huge deficit. How? How is that possible? Only Trump could do that.
If President Harris or Warren shuts down the coal power stations for clean air reasons, the steel industry will use the coal anyways, to a certain degree. It won't be at the same levels that we're seeing currently.
Rex says both are good. I'm glad to see Rex on board with Elizabeth Warren, because I know Rex is a big fan of Bernie. Texas is going to turn blue in the next few years. I was talking to someone about this, and they insist it's never going to happen and blame immigrants for it. But Texas has been blue before. I believe it's been a while. It's been since the 90s, I believe. And I agree. Beto O'Rourke almost beat Ted Cruz. He lost by 2.6%. Beto O'Rourke, someone that people still can't pronounce his name, never heard of him before, a two-term congressman from El Paso, Texas, who nobody had heard of. Most people still can't pronounce his name right. Almost beat one of the most popular Republicans. 2.6%. You make it sound like Trump single-handedly brought the deficit to that point, ignoring that it grew in multiples of what it has under Trump when Obama was president. Well, I'm no economist, D. Foster, so I don't claim to be an expert, but I do know that the $1.5 trillion tax cut did not do anything to help our deficit. If anything, it's made it worse. So that's all I can say about that. I mean, When you do a huge tax cut like that under the guise that it's going to motivate the economy and pay for itself, and it doesn't, that's troublesome. My vote breakdown, says Q-Bucks: Tulsi, Bernie, Warren, Trump. Wow. That's an interesting list right there, Q-Bucks. You go from Warren to Trump. Nothing in between, huh? No Mayor Pete, no Beto,
No.
Klobuchar, just straight Warren, boom, to Trump.
That's right. That's fucking right.
Fiscal hawks change their mind, Mick Mulvaney. I just don't think Robert O'Rourke has what it takes to win a presidency. I could see him winning a seat, though. Well, Beto, a.k.a. Robert, thinks he can be the next president and decided it's not worth
I don't
running
think
against
so.
John Cornyn in 2020, so he's running for president. What's the chance that Texas will permanently turn blue when they keep votes keep being suppressed and people in that state oppressed? Well, we know that Texas is ranked 50th out of all the tapes. Texas is ranked 50th out of all the states in voter turnout. And that is entirely due to voter suppression, voter ID laws, etc. The people of Texas are
Entirely is the wrong word. Entirely is the wrong word. It's a thing that affects people.
To elections. So obviously there are some problems, gerrymandering, voter ID, etc. And that gets fixed in the state houses primarily. So I think the people of Texas are fed up. I think the people of Texas realize what's going on. Those shenanigans with the voter rolls being people being removed from the voter rolls. Remember that came out from the Secretary of State in Texas, like 50,000 names, and it was whittled down to a few thousand, and even then it was a nothing burger, and the Secretary of State had to apologize. So I think the people of Texas are waking up to what's been going on there. And a lot of us were asleep at the wheel before 2016. So is it going to go permanently blue? I doubt it. Texas is a pretty mixed place, but I could see Texas having one Democrat senator and one Republican. You know, you look at a place like Ohio. I think it was Ohio. Let me Google this real quick before I say it. Let me look at this. I want to talk about gerrymandering for a second.
So I think the most positive effect of Trump's era is that many more people are listening to the debate and skeptical of the system.
All right, and I'm going to post a link to this in the chat so you can take a look at it for yourself if you can't see it. So these are the 2018 midterm results for the state of Ohio for the House. Democrats.
We've got some exciting stuff coming out. I've been working on you can't really tell at this point, but the background has changed a little bit. We're going to get an animated background. I've got a really cool background overlay.
So you would think that that's a
Doffstetter says Q-Bucks politics has always been volatile. It's just now there's Twitter.
Out of 16, what is that?
I think to a point. But there was Twitter back when Obama was going through the process too.
So 25%, duh, 4 times 4 is 16.
Will the boss said, I'm off acid right now. What's up?
And 75% Republican. If the Democrats only got 4 out of 16 seats, then they must only represent 25% of the people that vote. But if you take a look at how the people of Ohio voted for the president, watch this. Donald Trump won by 51%. 51%.
I said
of
share the
Ohio,
tabs.
the people of Ohio
He goes, I
voted
got a
for
half
Trump.
left.
So, why did Republicans get 75% of the seats if only half of the people of Ohio voted for a Republican for president? Why would 75% of them vote for a Republican for Congress? It doesn't make sense. It's called gerrymandering. It's called drawing districts so that the Democrats' votes don't matter because they're split too much.
Right.
And this is the problem that we have in our country. And people are waking up to this. And I've said it many times on the stream that gerrymandering is the #1 problem in our country. It causes two things to happen. One, the people's votes are not represented accurately, such as I just showed with when half the people of the state vote for president, the seats should be split evenly. The Democrats should have 8 seats, not 4. Now, you could argue, okay, 1 or 2 seats less or so, but 25%? Come on. And even worse, the worse impact of gerrymandering than the results in elections is what happens in the primaries. You get these districts that are gerrymandered, that are so safe that more and more extreme candidates can run and take up more extreme positions to win the primary. And now you end up with people like Louis Gohmert down in Texas, Matt Gaetz in Florida, real extreme people, Mark Meadows. These are people who are not willing to work with anybody in the Democratic Party, not willing to get anything done, even fight their own party. And that is a direct result of gerrymandering. So how do we fix this? Well, House Resolution number 1 establishes nationwide, it establishes independent commissions to draw congressional districts, because Congress can take back their elections. They can take some of that power away from the states. They decide how
Crank this up a little
how
bit.
their races are run. So they can establish independent commissions, which some states already have, like Michigan just passed it. California's had it for a long time. And it's proven that if you have independent commissions draw up state maps, as opposed to state legislatures, which are controlled by a party, it is much fairer. So thankfully, Ohio's maps were struck down recently, and they're going to have to redraw their congressional districts before the 2020 election. So theoretically, the Democrats should get 4 more seats in the House in Ohio come 2020.
So the data that I'm looking for is basically, if we look at a state, we look at how
Do we
many
have
people.
numbers on the overall voting of the state to back up the point? So you mean like total number of people that voted for the House versus total number of people that voted for president? Just abolish single member districts? That's an idea I haven't heard.
Yeah. What he said.
Damage Cortex says this map is uber bullshit.
HB 481, I think that's the
on
abortion
Georgia
law.
HB 481, the heartbeat bill.
Yeah.
It's going to get struck down by a federal judge and slowly make its way to the
It's
Supreme
fucked.
Court. They know that.
It's fucked, definitely. Like, I understand if you want to like abolish
that.
abortion in your
It's
particular
just a way
state, that
for
should be your right.
the conservative
And
for the
people can
Republican
like
Party to
leave,
have
I
Roe v.
guess.
Wade
I'm not
revisited
for it
by the
necessarily,
new conservative
but from
Supreme
state
Court.
to state, I believe that state overrules federal.
How can I get them banned is in the fact.
But
There's actually
to
0
say
people
that
banned
nobody
right now.
like the
video.
whole idea that number
But
one,
you do get a lot of people timed out.
if you face a miscarriage, you can face 30 years in prison. That's disgusting. Number two, if out of state you decide to have an abortion,
Would you say conservatives
And
are
you're
more
arrested
guilty in
in
stealing
your own
votes in
state? I
election
think
by
that's
gerrymandering,
disgusting
suppressing
as well.
votes, and segregating people? I mean, Democrats do it too, but not on the scale the Republicans have done since 2010. Remember, the Tea Party came into power in 2010, and Republicans just they ran amok with gerrymandering. Lord Blackwood's here. Thank you for the props on the beard, man. This is about the longest I go with it. Probably trim it a little bit here soon.
Bernie, 20,600. Thank you for the stream today.
Oh, Canadian populace. So I'm going to manually add your points because they didn't get added there. But thank you so much for the 1,500 biddies. You just have to put the keyword. You don't have to put the parentheses. That was just showing the total of each candidate. So I'll explain that a little bit more. But I'm going to manually add your points there. And then I'll explain. Oh, wait. Did it add? He's up to 22,100 now. Maybe you did it right. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. I'm going to check something. If it didn't add, I'm going to manually add it, so don't worry. But let me check something.
Bernie Brothers Unite.
Oh. Erna with another 1K adding to Bernie. Bernie Brothers Unite. Hold on, I want to check on this 1,500 for our buddy. But thank you, Erna, and thank you, Canadian Populist Left, man. It's my pleasure to stream. I love hanging out with you guys, rapping about politics. It's a lot of fun. Bernie Bros Unite for sure. Hold on, let me check on Midnight's 1,500 here. Go to my broadcast. Go back a few minutes.
A boogie with a hoodie? Who the fuck said this? More like 21 Savage, alright. Let's play some 21. 21.
So he was at 2,600. It did get added. Okay, cool. It did work, Canadian Populist. It worked, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah.
So you two Bernie bros have pushed Bernie that much closer to Warren.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Love the passion, guys. Love the excitement for Bernie as a candidate. Trust me, I got a Bernie sign on my wall, so I feel you.
How much money you got?
So if anybody was wondering what just happened, if you do exclamation point 2020, you will see all the candidates that are running for president in 2020 and keywords such as Bernie, Pete for Mayor Pete, and in parentheses is the total number of points they have. To add points to the candidate, you have to cheer 1 bit. 1 point, 1 bit, 1 point. And the top 3 make it up here on the screen. You can see Elizabeth Warren, Bernie, and Kamala Harris. Her name's not fully on the screen. Here's what it looks like a little more expanded. So you can see Warren's up there, Bernie, Kamala, Biden, and then Mayor Pete. Then the rest of them, they have so few points that they can't even get on the screen yet. Something I'm talking to the developer about. What's up, buddy? Nice to see you. But we got a lot of love for Elizabeth Warren and Bernie in this channel, as you can see. Missed a few comments, so let me scroll back up here. I love the Bernie Bros uniting though. And if you want to cheer and add points, you just have to have the candidate's keyword in your message. You could say Bernie rocks or whatever. You can even put Bernie beats Trump, and it'll count as the first one. The first keyword is the one that'll add it to.
Bernie is on top again.
Oh, wow. I knew Erna would not be able to stand seeing Bernie down there. 2260 to put Bernie up to number 1. Bam. Erna, thanks so much for supporting the channel and showing your love for Bernie and getting other people fired up on the man.
I just came from the A. I drove back home, 6-hour
Pretty cool, man. Kari's got 2 minutes. Okay, hold on. I missed some stuff. That's you guys. The support blows my mind. But let me just make sure I didn't miss too much here. Are we technically allowed to donate to candidates? Aren't we foreign meddlers? Legally, you can donate on this channel, Lord Blackwood, not to the actual candidates. So that's actually a great point. I should start saying that. Hey, to my foreign friends out there, you cannot legally contribute to the campaigns, but you can here. If Trump wins, then we know something is truly up. We already know something's fishy. So many suspicious things his campaign did, all the illegal acts Trump himself has done. It's a great point, Midnight. A lot of people talk about how if Trump loses, he's not going to leave the White House. If Trump wins, there's going to be some pissed off people.
He'll get shot in the front yard. He doesn't leave.
Gravel only had 2. Gravel's not too popular around these parts. 52% R, 47% D. That was overall vote for the House in Ohio in 2018. Yeah, so you would assume, Alej, that Republicans should hold about 50% of the seats, right? Not 75%.
How much money you got? A lot. How many problems you got? A lot. How many people done doubted you? A lot. Left you out the right? A lot. How many
Oh, we got 5 more biddies for Warren.
You got? A lot. How many times you got shot?
A dead
How many
tie.
niggas you shot? A lot. How many times did you
That's a
ride?
dead heat
How
right
many
there.
niggas done
Elizabeth
died?
Warren,
How many
Bernie
times did
Sanders,
you
the
cheat?
dream ticket.
How many times did you lie?
Let me ask you
How
guys
many
this,
times
because
did
this
she
is
leave?
fun when we get to
How
this
many
point.
times did she cry?
Who would you
How many
rather see,
chances she
Bernie
done
as
gave?
president
Fuck around
and
with me,
Warren as
die.
vice president, or Warren as president and Bernie as vice president? Let's look at Texas 35 again for really bad gerrymandering. I don't know if I can stand looking at any more gerrymandering tonight, man. Hurts my eyes. 10 bits to put Bernie on top from Erdna. You guys don't understand the passion Erdna has for Bernie. "18 months from the election, folks. We are 18 months, a year and a half away from being able to cast a vote outside of a primary. I love it. I love the energy and the excitement. This community is just going to heat up more and more as we get closer and closer to that election. It's going to be a lot of fun. And
Again, if you want to check this dude out,
Zoiku with the 10 bits for
twitch.tv/ I'm really important. He's a left-leaning
Midnight's
political
has been
commentary
stolen.
reactionist.
What's up, Patrice? How
Generally
you
cool
doing?
guy from what I've seen so far.
Bernie coming in hot, yeah.
He's about that progressive message.
Zoiku loving Andrew Yang. Zoiku likes quite a few candidates and is willing to pass the support
I
around
love
to a
the
lot of them.
progressive message.
And I like that
I
strategy
like the message of
because
fuck the system.
all of them bring something unique. All of them have their own fans that are interested
I also
and
see that
excited. And
somewhat
the people who support Bernie
to a
may not
limited
support
point from the Trump
essentials.
administration.
The people who
Fuck the
support
system.
someone like Mayor Pete may not support someone like Bernie. And we need those people excited. We need those people involved in politics.
I exposed
so if
myself
somebody like Mayor
earlier.
Pete can get people excited, if somebody
Tulsi
like Andrew
Gabbard,
Yang can get people excited and
one.
volunteering for a campaign,
She's not gonna make
that's
it.
huge.
She's not gonna
Because
make
those
it, but
people
it's
will
cool.
get on board with
If she
whoever
does
wins the
make it for
nomination.
some
I know
odd
it. I just
reason,
know it.
I will flex on Tulsi. Next up is
Alleged can vote
Bernie.
sooner?
I
Yeah, well,
donate
primary.
a shit ton of money to Bernie. From my perspective.
27 bits from Erdna
There
for
were at
Kamala.
least 2 zeros.
Kamala
you know,
is the best
right.
centrist.
I think that's a maximum.
It's such
vote.
a funny way to say it, but technically I would agree with you.
Then we got Warren,
She
which
did
I'm
say
not
she's
too
for
educated
Medicare for
on,
all,
but
though,
everything
tonight,
that I've
Erdna,
seen,
we saw that.
you know,
And she is
my
for
biggest
universal
selling
background
point
checks.
is
Good.
like, how have you presented yourself and how have you actually?
Is the bits for
voted?
candidates total more bits
That's my
than what
biggest
you got
selling
in
point.
almost a year of streaming? Probably no. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And then next up is Tulsi,
Definitely.
because
We
I don't
introduced
think
the bid system about
I don't
3
think
weeks
anyone
ago,
else who's in the
and
race
it's been a lot of fun.
is either
People have been enjoying it, so it's definitely been a great way. And again, it's a fun way to support the community here.
shit
You guys know
show.
me.
You
I
sold
paid
me
to
a
develop,
fucking
have a
rotten bill
developer make this program. I
when
paid to have
I
an
bought
artist
into
do the
the Obama
2020 White House. and
I was
that
all
was taken
for
from
it.
money that we raised here on the stream. So
But you fucked the
I'm
pooch
looking for more
when you
ways
did
to
it,
invest
so
back
I'm
in the
not-
stream. I have
I'm
my own
not voting
business,
for the
and so
V2.
anything
So I'm
we get
coming
from the
back to
stream is
Trump.
just bonus. And like I said, I'm going to TwitchCon.
He's not
so
been
you'll
that
see me
bad.
interact with some
I
of the
understand there's like
streamers here on
racist
Twitch.
shit,
I already
whatever.
talked to a few of
I
them
agree.
about it. So we're just looking for fun ways to reinvest into the stream.
Perceivably racist shit. But I trust that our government is going to catch all that bullshit.
What's up, Disal? No, I paid a developer to do it. Montana Governor Steve Bullock is making an announcement soon about his future, so he might
have
be
to
joining
hide
the
here and
presidency
see what
race
else is
too,
going
even
on
though
in
people want him to run
politics.
for Senate. Well, Tester is not up, so who's the other?
Actual.
It must be the other senator from Montana. What's his name?
See what's up.
Bitch, be careful when you dumping yo ash.
Bed with me. It wasn't pointed at you. Don't make it sound like I gave you a brown kiss. I did not.
All right,
And
new
so
up,
I
we
wafted
have
it out of the
actual
sheets.
Jake.
cuddling.
And we were
You can
cuddling.
find
It was,
him
it was
at
funny. And then it hit,
TTV/actual
and we
Jake.
both go,
ACTUALJAKE. The tag is
and I go,
debate,
I don't even want to be
crashing
here.
chuds
You were
yet
like, I
again.
don't
Will
want to
they
be
show?
here with me.
Am I a chud?
So bad.
Dougie, hey, come here.
He was so
I
upset.
think
that
this
he
dude is.
couldn't this morning.
I haven't watched a whole lot of them.
Thank you. No, that's terrible. Come here.
Feeling so good, my smoke some. Hit it so good, my
You
choke
just come
some.
here.
My pull
Hey.
up game so weak.
Darwin,
Gonna have both fun.
what are you doing?
What's a chud?
Neighborhood sounding like
All right,
pop.
he's-
Pick 'em up, roll 'em out, all of that.
What is a
Jack, can you
chud?
explain that to me?
There was a dog hair that just drifted past your camera.
Should we have Chud Lore too, guys?
They gon' watch 'em slow. All these
I think we should have Chud Lore.
niggas, they won't miss a O. I'm gon' shoot they baby
We saw
mama
us.
if I got the pole. Oh, hey.
He's just got a butt.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
Tired, you big dumb. I don't want to come up here.
Let me truth on the verse. If they paid you to do it, you don't gotta
Okay,
ask
then
for
not a chud.
Me and Savage, we came from the dirt. If you rapping for money, you silly.
This might get boring real quick.
You guys get a Darwin email for that. I did my best for you guys. I don't know if you saw. I used my raw strength to get him up here.
Yeah, no, he was hardly even in front.
Flex.
He doesn't want to come up here. He wants to play Tiger and shit. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the fart story. I love you guys. What's tomorrow? Monday? Are we streaming
closing
tomorrow?
out?
What's happening Monday? Do we have anything going on?
Fuck.
We have D&D?
Do we want to go to Bad Bunny and see some like feminist fucking bullshit?
Christmas Saves is on Wednesday
Third
this
wave
week. It's a little
feminism.
weird. We're doing a one-shot. Hugo is doing...
Alright, let's see what's up. If you want to check out Bad Bunny, I don't recommend it. TTV/Bad Bunny. She's a radical feminist. Or, she's not that radical. She's just kind of a bitch. Terrible person from what I've seen so far. She'll like flex on feminists and then do the whole thought, THOT process. I don't know. Destiny, what's up? What do we got going on? Just chatting. Very boring shit. People. All right. I think the best bet is I'm really important. You want to check him out
That's an
again
interesting
at
point, though.
twitch.tv/I'm really
Tiff
important.
said, "Oh yeah, if Bullock, the lieutenant governor or the former governor runs, the race is a toss-up." Wow, I was not considering Montana's Senate race as a vulnerable seat. That's good to know. I hope all the raw data from tips is being stored, so once you have the tools, you can go back and work these things out. It is. I have a chat log kept of every single stream, and all of cheers show up there as well. So
You know what?
all the data
we might
is
actually
stored.
engineer something like that, but we're gonna have it on more of like a.
How can I vote for Andrew Yang, says Memba. You gotta cheer and put Yang's name. Yang is listed as Yang. He's got 200 points right now. He's got a long way to get on the board though.
Yellow
but
love.
1 bit equals 1 point. So if you cheer and say I love Yang, then it'll add those points to Andrew Yang.
300-ish buckaroos.
Nod the Mod said you should let people select a state to cast their bit vote in and have an electoral college map for it. It's an interesting idea, Nod. I mean, I'm still talking to the developer about what else we can do with this now that it's become so popular. This is still even just a beta version of it. It's not even like fully released yet. So the sky's the limit on what we can do with this thing. And when it gets down to just 2 candidates, let's say Bernie and Trump, I would like to see if we can add some more to it. I'd love to see if we can get the Senate races involved. I'd love to see if we can get some major House races, governor, all sorts of stuff. Who knows? If you want a stat output page I'd make for you, that would be pretty simple. Yeah, hit me up in the Discord, Dissoc. I would love to talk to you about that. Anybody who wants to help out, I would love to talk to you guys about ways to get involved with the stream and things we can do. Erdna said, if you set chat logs up on Over Russell's logs, we can easily grab that data for each donation. I saved a lot of the stream logs with one of my tools, but it isn't as comprehensive as Over Russell. Erdna, I'm going to take a look at that because my understanding was Over Russell is automatic for people with a certain number of viewers. But if I can manually add this stream to Over Russell, I would do that in a heartbeat. I love that site.
Money just stick with the boy. Cash in and cash out. Cash in and cash out. I am not looking for clout. No, I knew I would figure.
Ohio allows minors to vote in primaries at 18 when election comes. If that, then that should be a nationwide rule.
I agree.
I got no problem with that. We are against the electoral college around these parts.
They get the sweat from Atlanta and run off. I make the best when he stick like a tongue. Running this shit with the fuck they talking about.
Yeah, if you wanted Andrew Yang to get to the top, you would have to drop around $250. That would need some serious passion through Andrew Yang. We also have a major candidate running in North Carolina with Tillis having a major challenge. Yeah, Tom Tillis is definitely vulnerable in North Carolina. A strong candidate in Alaska for Senate, but Senate's not up till 2022. And a recent poll showing Joni Ernst leading only 4 against the generic. I think Joni Ernst in Iowa, Republican, is vulnerable because of Steve King, the Republican congressman who's like the most racist dude in the House. He's on the same ballot as her. Oh, Sullivan's up? Okay, I was thinking of Murkowski. I don't know. You think Sullivan can be touched? Alaska is pretty Republican place. Screen real estate is the problem. Yeah. That's why I have it down here on the little 3-point. I have the top 3 down there.
We could be in problems. Nicotine withdrawal is a serious
So
health
even if
risk.
I expanded on the main screen when they're all shown there, if I pulled it out, they still wouldn't show. It's an issue with the size of the icons and the names. The developer's working on it. I asked him if it's something he can do, and he said he can look into it. Isn't Steve King a literal fascist? You know, in his little district maybe, but Steve King is a problem for the Republicans. They stripped him of all his committee assignments. First time, I believe, in a century or something, that Iowa doesn't have somebody on the agricultural committee.
Had the same friends when I was bummy. They should have went and did stand up, cause when the money
Like Steve King will be on the ballot in 2020 for re-election, and he'll be on the same ballot as Joni Ernst, who's running for Senate for the state.
Who's that Georgia
And
House
so that's going to
representative
be a reflection on
I'm
Joni.
all
because
about
she's on the
that
same
fucking
party.
This Is America shit.
I remember times would start.
He got caught
Logarithmic
saying
scale? I have no idea. Daryl.
sand and
Alaska likes to flip-flop. It's about family name honesty. He only won by 2%.
If you haven't seen This Is America,
Here for Republicans.
fucking
Wow.
pick up, you know, if you got the money for it.
Here's the thing.
pick it up.
Democrats
Or
only have to
pirate it,
flip
whatever you have to
only
do
have
to
to flip
fucking watch
3
this
seats
shit.
in the Senate if we
Like,
win the White
this
House.
is
Because right now there's
America.
47
Fucking
Democrats,
exposes
45
like,
Dems,
what's
and
going
2
on
independents
now.
that caucus with the Dems.
Ridiculous.
47 seats. You need 51 to control the Senate. And if it's a tie, 50-50, then the vice president breaks the tie. So we only have to flip 3 seats in the Senate.
Or who is
I think it's very, very doable. Unless the party convinces Steve King not to run, it's possible. That's true. Have you seen Who is America yet? I have not, Q-Bucks. I haven't even seen the AOC documentary, Knock Down the House, because I don't have Netflix. I'm so sad. I'm gonna sign up for Netflix just to watch that documentary. Maybe I can cancel and I'll get my money back or something. Or one of my friends maybe has an account, but I feel so out of the loop that I haven't got to see that documentary because so many of you guys said it was amazing. And I'm jealous that I didn't get to see it. Tipsy, how are you so knowledgeable about this stuff? I love it, trust me. But you are a very passionate person about politics and you follow things very closely. Is it just a hobby for you or something you're interested in, or are you involved in politics somehow? I'd be curious. Lord Blackwood doesn't have Netflix. Lord Blackwood and I are the 2 people on Earth that don't have a Netflix account. And we're both in the same room. Ah, that's that Sacha Baron Cohen. That show kind of fizzled, huh? It got real big excitement on the first episode and then just disappeared. I canceled after Daredevil got canceled. Wow. Lord Blackwood sending a message with his money. You gonna cancel my favorite show? I'm canceling you. I've canceled Netflix like 3 times. I had Netflix back when it was DVDs, and they scratched a bunch of my DVDs in the mail, so I wrote an angry email and canceled. That was a long time ago. And then I canceled Netflix at least 2 other times since then, just because I wasn't using it. But I like Black Mirror, so I got it for Black Mirror, and then the new season came out and I didn't really care, so I canceled it. And here I am wanting to get Netflix again just for Knock Down the House. Isok's in the No Netflix Club. Wow, there's literally tens of us. I only have a Netflix account because I have a child, and cable is not worth even a fraction of what it costs. You know, I didn't have cable until very recently. For the stream, I got cable so that we could watch town halls and C-SPAN and HD because it was too unreliable trying to stream from their websites, and so I only have cable over my computer. I don't even have a TV. Tipsy said, I just keep up to date. I didn't pay attention in politics until after the Alabama Senate race in 2017. Since then, kept super duper up to date. Wow. That's wild, Tipsy. So not even Trump could get you super interested in politics. It took Roy Moore. Are you down there in Alabama or something like that? Because Roy Moore seems way less invigorating for an interest in politics than Donald Trump.
I failed, folks.
I feel like if Donald Trump didn't do it for you, that's interesting that Roy Moore would have kicked you into high gear. Polly said, I wonder how many handwritten letters Netflix received.
Sasha has Dick Cheney talking.
They got an angry email from me.
We're gonna have some
They never responded though.
We're gonna have some breaks, like whenever I stand up.
It's not their fault. I'm sure Disney made it impossible to keep the license. Ah, that makes sense.
We got some references to Fight Club coming up. I'm working on that shit. I'm trying to learn the ropes.
Wow, Damaged Cortex knows how to make someone feel old. Says, I remember they used to send DVDs. I was 3 to 4 when we started using Netflix. Wow. Are you saying you were on the 3 to 4 DVD account, or you were literally 3 or 4 years old? Holly said, I turned my cable box into Comcast and was like, I don't care if my account says I have cable. I just don't want to take this home. So you just watch it on your monitors too, Holly? Yeah, but you can get that with the absolute basic package. I don't think my kid would want to watch politics and infomercials, right? From what I've seen, most parents nowadays give the kid their phone and the kid watches YouTube nonstop. I feel like that's how kids really entertain themselves, is they just go down a rabbit hole on YouTube of opening presents videos and all sorts of stuff like that. I would like to be a kid right now in 2019 because you get to watch videos of other kids opening presents on the internet and feel joy. That's amazing. I had to watch like old Hanna-Barbera cartoons on Saturday morning. I had to wake up early to watch cartoons and lay on the living room floor. These kids just pick up their iPhone and have the world at their fingertips. Can confirm Diva's kids watch YouTube all the time. There you go. I live in rural Washington. Trump winning got me to start paying attention, but I didn't take it very seriously or understand it until the Alabama race. Interesting tip. I appreciate you sharing your story. I love hearing how you guys got into politics and why, and it's super fascinating because I share my story all the time. I wasn't paying attention to politics until Trump won in 2016. I was one of those every 4-year voters, maybe every 2, and I thought I was doing a wonderful thing by voting and realized how short I was falling in my involvement when it comes to politics and government. I was literally 3 or 4 years old, maybe 5. Wow. That was like circa 2005, maybe 2004, when Netflix was doing DVDs.
I remember
My kid is
Family
11,
Video.
and he basically does not get YouTube access unsupervised because he has not demonstrated he's mature enough to do so safely and not explore places he knows he shouldn't be. I thought you could restrict it though, Troll Sama. Like you could restrict it to channels that are only marked with children's content or something. My 10-year-old spends most of her time on YouTube. I had to spend 10 minutes explaining traditional social media to her last night. She was not impressed. Oh man, I don't have kids, and when I hear stories like that, I'm so jealous because it would be such a blast to sit there and talk to a 10-year-old about something. I hope I get to the point where I can adopt kids one day, and because I have nothing against kids, I just can't seem to get into a loving relationship with a woman for some reason. I don't know why. But I can always adopt kids, and maybe I'll meet the one day. But as I get older, I risk, my kids having problems if I have them later in life. So I'm always jealous of my friends who have young kids like that. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Money make my old bitches hate.
Incel.
That's a question.
Raiders coming in. What's up, Materialize?
Not an advocacy or fucking.
Dude.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing over your families. I was just talking about how I'm an incel. I'm kidding. I go by I'm really important for anybody that came here. We talk politics similar to my friend Materialize. I show a lot of C-SPAN. We talk about electeds, bills, current events, stuff like that. Today, we were watching some of the Sunday morning shows, even Fox News Sunday, believe it or not. So welcome everybody, glad to see you. And if you guys don't know Materialize, let me give him a shout out here. This dude's awesome. Lives in good old Gerrymander, Texas, and is very involved in politics. A sharp tool in the shed, someone I'm glad we have on the left, and very interesting to hang out in his stream and listen to his thoughts on what's going on. I have no kids. You know what's better than kids? Money. Says practice. YouTube greater than Netflix. I'm not that into YouTube, man. I don't really understand how to use YouTube. Like, I search for politics on YouTube, and it just brings up a bunch of news sites. And it's very frustrating because all I know about is Kyle Kalinske and ContraPoints, and I feel like you have to really know what you're looking for. And I'm like, just show me stuff like that. All I want to see is more secular talk type of stuff, and I can never find any of this stuff. Add bits for Trump on the counter? Some people have Canadian. Oh, there you go. Polly says, you know what's better than kids? Happy Mother's Day.
Money.
Nah, kids are great. Don't get me wrong. I love kids. I love it. That's why I love having my dog so much, because, you know, I just hug him.
Very similar.
It's just
Very
a lot of fun,
similar.
having kids.
You just throw some
I
water
hope
and
to
food
one
in the
day.
bowl, let them shit in the yard. That's how I raise my kids too.
Kids do take up most of your time and money. Not sure what the net is, but my kid is cool. She basically cloned me, so it's tough not to love her. There you go. Kids look up to you like you're a god, and as long as you're open with them and honest and share your values and your hobbies and what excites you, it's a wonderful relationship, and I hope I get to experience it one day. You added bits for Trump, Canadian? Hold on, I didn't see anything come up. Sorry, I missed it. Let me see. Shoot. Yeah, I don't see anything show up, though. I'm scrolling up through the chat here.
21 news game, drug dealers in the Moosang, at the top of the food chain, trapping the cocaine, no game, shooter with no names, we can play toe games, the whole game, kicking your dough, man.
Yeah.
Huh.
Kim Jong, yeah, big bomb. Wonder bread, man, make your bitch lick crumb. Yeah. Out of my pocket.
Oh, long ago? Okay, sorry about that, Canadian. What, it was a little while ago. No worries, dude. Hold on. I got you, fam. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see, how do I do this? Here we go.
Planet of the Apes, yeah, hang around gorillas. I got AK, SK, HK, broad day. 21. You a fuck boy, we ain't with the horseplay. Bitch, Trump ass nigga, did you do your chores today? Do you wanna take?
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't show me that. That's so strange. How many bits did you do so I can manually add it? I apologize for the system not catching up.
Shoot the maggots with the pump, got it, love the paddock on my arm, you got static, pussy nigga, run your charm, ghost like killers, Wu-Tang, 21 news game, drug dealers in the Moosang, at the top of the food chain,
It reset. It did not reset. They're all right there. Come on. Here goes the big chart of them.
Trunk in the front top, got a slide. Why suicides we keep the shit alive? Jumping at the public houses, don't you come outside.
Canadian Republican. I just caught that. I thought that was our buddy Canadian populist left. That's hilarious. We got Canadian Republican and Canadian populist left. Both with similar color names. That's why it threw me off. Two Canadians. We got a lot of Canadians.
Wow.
Alright, 10 bits for Trump. You sure that's who you want it to go to, Canadian Republican? You sound like somebody who would support Bernie. You sound like a Bernie supporter, my friend, with that name.
21 news game, drug dealers in the Moosang, at the top of the food chain, trapping the cocaine, no game, shooter with no names, we can play toe games, the whole game, kicking your dough, man.
Canadian centrist?
What?
Yeah, all we need is Canadian centrist in the chat, and then we're good.
I searched for Dick shoots in head. We're gonna go through the top result. Dick Cheney hunting accident. Urban Dictionary Dick shot.
There
Let's
you
see
go.
what that
Trump
is.
is up to 112.
Dick shot is
Trump
when
is 112. He's
you're
about
hunting and Dick
25,000.
Cheney appears and shoots you. Happened recently.
25,250 points away from
tapping
the number
phone
one
lines
spot.
is wrong.
He's pretty close.
Huge mushroom dick shoots big
We got
load.
90 biddies for
Pornhub.
Gravel.
We're not
One
fucking
bid
with
for
that.
every year of age on this
Super
man.
big
Wow.
head cock.
Shots
Pornhub.
at Gravel's
Might get
age.
shots
Mike
in the
Gravel,
dickhead.
former
YouTube.
senator of Alaska,
Prawn
running
dick
for president,
headshot.
says, I don't even want to be president.
Man
I just
tied
make
his
it to the
penis to a
debate
shotgun
stage
and
so I
then
can
shot
share
him
my
in the head.
anti-war message.
What?
Talk about a patriot. Mike Gravel, as Tipsy said, old as dirt, threw a brick into the river in his announcement video. I have no idea why, but he threw a brick into the river. So Gravel was at 2. That puts Gravel up to 92 now. Let me just make sure. Yep. Gravel's at 92 points now.
You can love somebody, still stab them in their back. It don't take much to love. You can love somebody just by being attacked.
Canadian Republican, 2-day-old account. Welcome to Twitch, my friend. Canadian Republican.
Oh, fuck.
You was my dog. You was
Welcome to
Man.
Twitch.
I would've went to war the world on your car. On your car. Thought you had my back. You let me fall.
It was a violent anti-fish protest.
Then you called.
Shot.
It doesn't fit his brand, though. Violence doesn't fit into his brand.
Now I got a ball without you. Now I got a ball. Now I got a ball without you. Now I got a ball. Now I got a ball. Now I got a ball without you. Now I got a ball.
Several sides of Canadian politics represented. That's right, Paul.
Middle school got my heart broke. Stop
Not only do we have a wide variety of political ideologies from America, the United States in this room, we got a wide range of Canadian political ideologies represented here.
I thought it was love until I woke up and had an epiphany. Keep the fame and keep the love. Just give me the loyalty. Nefertiti, King Tut. I treat you like royalty. I just wish I would fade away.
Trump Sama, that's right. Gave some biddies to Trump.
Don't you ever let a nigga take my place. Would you be around if I had minimum wage?
How was YouTube from an older perspective when it came out? I do not remember when YouTube came out, honestly. I wasn't a user of YouTube in the beginning. I don't remember. I really don't remember much about it. I mean, again, I still don't use YouTube very much, even now. Even though I have a YouTube and I'm starting to understand how it works and the algorithm. And,
See what's next. Prawn
what
dick
makes
head
a video
shot.
popular and stand out
no.
and work on
Slang
YouTube.
for
It's a totally different
penis head
beast,
related,
than streaming.
related terms. Urban thesaurus. Dick Cheney has yet to apologize to the man that he shot in the
How old
face.
is this ginger? Wow, I got brown hair, man. Come on. I'm 39 years old, Q-Bucks.
No
39.
shit.
Feels weird to say. I'll be
Feels
40 in
weird.
November. I'm anti-fish protest all the time. I go down to the river, try and process them out of the water with my fishing
why you
rod.
trapping so hard?
Get violent sometimes.
Yeah, we fall off.
I can see Lord Blackwood just
On the other
banging
shit.
on the river
Got a
with his
12 car
fishing pole,
garage.
and the fishermen are like, dude,
Why you pulling
that's
out
not
a
how it
rap's
works.
car?
You're supposed to reel them in and drop it in there quietly.
Hard. I turn it fucking soft to some hard. I grew up in the streets without no heart. I'm praying to my
That's my
God.
thoughts, High Top. It's not hard to copy, so trying to own it in some way is impossible. I know it'll catch on if it gets big, the bits thing, and other people will use it, but to me, the bits thing works because of our community. I don't think any streamer, even someone who deals in politics, could do this and see the success that we've seen here with it, because we've spent 10 months as a community developing a unique environment where we treat each other with respect and we've got these friendships and stuff, and so I don't think even if somebody took my exact program and put it on their stream, I don't think it would be anywhere near as successful as it is here, so I'm not worried about it. But I feel you.
I listened to your raps, thought you was hard. You ain't even street for real.
Thought I was in my 20s.
On Twitter.
Appreciate that,
yeah.
dude.
For real.
I thought he was younger.
I look 28.
Till a nigga get killed.
Here's the secret. To all you young people out there, and even my older friends, start doing two things every day. Pat dry your face when you get out of the shower. Don't rub the towel all over your face like you're trying to buff out something on your car. Pat dry your face very lightly. And also, within the first minute of getting out of the shower, apply a face lotion. Go out and spend 16 bucks on some face lotion. Don't go buy some cheap stuff. Buy a nice little $18, $16 face lotion with SPF in it. Make sure it has SPF. And it will keep your face looking great for years. Use that every time you wash your face. And trust me, sun will damage your face and make it terrible. You can hang out in the sun all day if you want, but put sunscreen on your face.
Face lotion is bullshit.
The least greasy way to do that is lotion, face lotion with a little bit of SPF. It doesn't feel greasy at all, and nobody will know, man. 40-year-old teen heartthrob. Tobe says what Tobes knows what's up with the moisturize. Polly with the thumbs up for SPF.
Young Savage, why you trapping so hard?
Faux show.
Why these niggas capping so hard? Why you got a 12-car garage? Why you pulling out these rappers' cards?
Why is Gav lurking here? Brought a raid over here.
I turn it fucking soft to some hard. I grew up in the streets without no heart.
Face lotion is BS when you never leave your house. That's another thing. I really don't go out much. I used to skateboard a lot when I was younger, so I was outside a plenty. But, you know, if you're on the computer a lot like me, then you're pretty good too. But the lotion is key to keep your face looking nice and smooth.
Yeah. Not getting beat is key too. Like,
thought I just got out of college. Awesome, man.
This one right here. This one was my son, actually. I caught a fucking dresser.
Turn my headphones
At least you
dead
have
asleep.
son.
Dad fucking asleep.
Yeah.
He apparently
I'll trade you son for your
climbed out of his
government any
crib.
day of the week, Lord Blackwood. How about that?
started crawling up our dresser. And the fucker was falling on us.
I'll
So I
trade
caught
you
that motherfucker.
California sun
Boop.
for nationwide legal marijuana.
Ooh,
How
yes.
much money you got? How much money you got? A lot. How much money you got? A lot.
Our friends to the north got some better laws than we do up there.
Left you out to rot. A lot. How many pray that you flop? A lot. How many lawyers you got? A lot. How many times you got shot? A lot. How many niggas you shot? A lot. How many times did you ride? A lot. How many niggas done died? A lot. How many times did you cheat? A lot. How many times did you lie? A lot. How many times did she leave?
You don't have a wife/husband.
How many chances she done gave you?
Well, I'm heterosexual, alleged, cisgender, heterosexual, so I would have a wife if I did. But I do not.
If I turn to a snitch, but I'm 21 for L, ain't no way I'm
I stopped trying a couple years ago, man. Nowadays, if you're older and trying to date in 2019 involves apps.
Bob Ross extraordinaire. You want to see my tattoo?
And being 39 years old on Tinder or Bumble is a nightmare because it is everybody's best version of themselves. I go on there and I'm like, look, I'm into Twitch, I'm into live streaming, I like staying home, being with my dog, I don't like to go out on the weekend. Like, nobody wants to hear that on Tinder. People are like, people want to pretend like they go skydiving every weekend on Tinder, so I feel bad for you youngins who are
I'm
having
just
to
waiting
date
for
right
more
now
tragedy
because
before I
it's
decide
all
to
a
get
fantasy
another
on those dating
tattoo.
apps. And other than that, I don't know how you meet people because people don't just like go out and do stuff anymore.
How many niggas you shot? A lot. How many times did you ride? A lot. How many niggas done died?
A lot.
How many times did you cheat? A lot. How many times did you lie?
Never.
How many times did she leave? A lot. How many times did she cry? A lot. How many chances she done gave you? Fuck around with these thighs. A lot.
Pure jojoba oil and shea butter are also really good, says Soiku. Many lotions have not so good ingredients. Also drinking enough water and doing yoga. Those are all great suggestions too.
Don't.
App dating is the worst. I turned 40 in January. So Tobes knows what's up. It's like everybody's fantasy version of themselves on there. It's like, can we just be real for a minute? None of you want to do anything on the weekend. Let's be real. Come on, man. I'm looking for somebody to Netflix and chill permanently. Once in a while, if we got the energy, we can go out and do stuff. But that's not what I'm looking for.
I don't want smoke, I want cream. I don't want no more comparisons. This is
Ollie said, I hate when peeps at the grocery store ask me, got any plans for this weekend? I'm like, napping, get the... I'm like, yeah, my weekend plans are sleeping until 9 a.m. That's what I'm hoping for.
Sleeping
Please, for the love of God, let me sleep until 9 a.m.
I'm on the gig economy. How many minutes until my next fucking appointment?
Troll people on Tinder. I don't know. Us older people are screwed when it comes to dating nowadays.
I got a plan. They say the success is the greater revenge. Tell all your friends, call on a mission, submitting the spot is the greatest that did it before it all ends, nigga.
How much money you got? A lot. How many problems you got? A lot. How many people
Sleep in, drink coffee, maybe play some games, sort some magic cards if I'm super ambitious.
How many times you got shot?
Yeah, you might get me to clean the kitchen or something if I'm really feeling energetic.
We might get some titties on stream real soon.
How many times did she leave? How many times did she cry? How many chances she done gave you? Fuck around with these thighs.
Practice says, I'm looking for a girl who wants to make cookies for the office tomorrow, but then we eat them that night and
don't be
save
fucking
for
these
dinner.
bitches, these thoughts that are throwing themselves at you.
Practice, I think you just nailed
You're 15
the best
fucking years,
Tinder
man.
bio
Or like 13.
you could have, my friend. Please
I'm
use
just
that.
rounding up.
You will have some good results if you use that, my friend. That's quite witty. Cortex said, I would fall head over heels if in someone's profile page it said likes cooking, politics, philosophy, reading, writing, YouTube, and I'm assuming Twitch.
Yeah.
That person's out there, Cortex. Trust me.
The bullshit. I'm not with it. Call your man.
The other thing is,
She let me hit it.
my interests are things that younger people are into for the most part.
I don't be going on dates.
So I know there's some
She
people
got
my
ass,
age
but it's
out there,
fake.
but for the most
He
part,
saving
Twitch
hoes,
is a
need
younger
cake.
crowd.
Lil'
So if
mama
I say
head
I'm into
supreme.
Twitch,
But I'm still rocking his bait.
most people
All
my
I know
age
is
are
two
like,
guns, nigga.
what
If
the
you a
hell
fake,
is
you get
Twitch
ate.
and
Had to
what
put
do
a
you
bitch
do
on
on there?
pause. Me and my dogs break laws. 21 gang till I fall. You could get hit in the jaw. The chopper can hit all of y'all. Your brother, your go fishing dog.
This ox said my
Most
weekends
of my
usually
niggas just
consist
raw.
playing with
Cut
radios
off
and
head to your
programming.
balls.
Doesn't impress
It
the
should be a
ladies.
fluff, I'm petty. Can't leave the streets,
That's what
I
I'm
ain't ready.
saying.
Me and my hood got married.
It should
Am I with the
impress
ring
the
with a machete?
ladies because you're
Me and me
passionate
and Keisha
about
like
it,
Belly.
and that's
This and me
what
got
should
a
be
nigga
enough.
homeboys buried.
But
They on
Tinder
my side,
and
they
Bumble
scary. When we start spinning niggas
tend to
blocks, they
gravitate
telling.
towards
Got your baby
trying
mama
to
in the
impress
yard.
people
I
with
don't
some
smoke
fake
weed, I sell
version of
dope.
who you are.
Ain't no back and forth,
And
bitch,
I
smoke.
don't say it as a
Pull up on
criticism
you and
of
your
Tinder
folks.
and Bumble,
Try to give me head, she choke. We call you
because
a rat 'cause
that's
you spoke.
wonderful for some
All
people,
these tennis
but
chains
for
like I'm in
people
the
like
tennis game, y'all
myself
niggas
whose
wearing gold
interests
ropes.
aren't
Killers
as
out the
exciting
seats.
on
Got 'em
paper,
all high. Ex-girlfriends,
Tinder doesn't work.
Got 'em all fired. Don't you cross the gang, dog. We like
Lebowski
barbed
Fest,
wire.
love the name.
Stacking
Met my
nutty
wife
M's,
7
I'ma
years
beat
ago
you
on Match at
car
age 35. It
Acting
happens, but
Hollywood,
I've
I
mostly
kick
given
that
up.
out
Good
on
for you for
Wheelshire.
continuing the
Got
try.
a model and she
I have
tighter
heard good
than
things
a
about
grill
Match for
fire.
older people.
Sneak and steal my
And
flow.
by older
Gotta be
people, I
rapper
mean,
slick
like,
buyers.
not 25.
I'm 4L gang 4L,
So,
dog, and we got big
I'm happy to hear that you didn't give up
Let me pop my
and
shit, yeah.
that you
Keep
met
big
someone
Glock on my
great.
hip,
That's awesome.
yeah. One up, top my shit. Oh God, I don't like to cop my shit. Y'all niggas gossiping shit. No more beef.
I was
we
on
drop
Tinder
that
for a
shit.
week, broke
Y'all niggas
200
talk that
likes
shit.
in a day.
Never had a payment,
Let me
I
see if I
bought
can
that
locate
shit.
my profile.
BS
Wow,
one of my
Hikari.
wrists. Can't
Very
put my tongue
popular.
on no bitch, cause I still kiss my kids.
I had this one line
need
in
to
the
fix
short
your
time I
wig.
used Tinder. It
All
went
my
something
brothers
like,
to the
I like
biz.
scotch and my
When
own
it came home, we
jokes.
was rich.
One increases
But
the
40
other
acres and a mule. They got 50 rats in
exponentially.
a brand new Sid. Little boy, get up out the way. Little
Lord
boy,
Blackwood,
really
you
kinda
did
play.
something right,
I
man.
got a partner named Dre.
You know,
You can get
you
bitched
got
by
yourself
Dre.
a cool relationship.
You
I'm
get hit by
jelly.
K hit you that shit last day.
Date younger.
Block 27, that's Bay. Stick to 30 in it, had a baby. My strippers got S-Class 80. Ride me slow like you drive me
At this point, the reason why I chilled out on dating at this point is because I've dated women for the wrong reasons my whole life. It's always been based on looks, and then finding a way to be into that person, right? There's a famous saying that, like, men fall in love with women. They're attracted to the women first, and then they learn how to fall in love
See,
with them.
I'm a different
Women
type of fucking animal.
Fall
Like,
in love with a guy and
my
learn how to be
ex-wife
attracted to him.
was hot as fuck,
So I've always been victim of that my whole life, like just
but
dating
she
women that I'm
destroyed the
attracted
whole
to.
fucking
And
process.
I've always done it for my
And, like,
self-esteem.
the whole
sadly.
fucking, like,
I had great
I'm
relationships.
retarded, but I'm
but
fine.
I got lucky that they turned into good relationships. But finally, approaching 40 years old, I said, enough's enough. I want to really be in a fun and a great relationship, not just something physical.
Ass and titties.
I've taken a step back
Ass
the
and
last
titties.
few years
And big booty bitches.
worked on myself, and I'll meet someone.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Hot and retarded does not match up. I'm looking for that.
Sad or
Like,
anything
I'm
like
willing
that. If I
to
was, then I would go out there
sacrifice
and mix it up.
looks, I guess. For, fire personality or
Met my
whatever.
wife
it
the
might be.
old-fashioned way, drunk at a party. It's awesome, Erna. She's great, but I met her on Twitch, not on an app. Well, Twitch is an app. It's great that you guys met doing something that you both enjoy. You know, that's the key right there. That's the key.
And I'm kind of like
My friend Stinder says,
fucker,
"Are you the
right?
Hydrogen Collider? Because I want to smash you at 9% the
Like,
speed of light." Your friend's a witty
fucking
person.
destroy some money, right? But I need something to fight for, is what it comes down to. So,
Yeah.
and then you get
This is
into,
an
you get
interesting
into this
thing.
position where you're like, you're flexing
interesting
your
thing.
position, right?
It's a
You're-
wonderful
you're the
thing if you
top
can
1%
find
of
someone
your
and together
small
make something bigger of life.
subsect
Like,
of everything
that's
else.
awesome.
And that turns you into a monster, man. Especially when your wife is demanding fucking $400
My dating
haircuts
profile:
every week.
Reaper, Leviathan, Survivor. I don't know what that is. Globetrotter, extraordinary, unanswered question,
And house.
assassin, convicted serial cuddler, sushi connoisseur,
And car.
seeking code, conspirator. Hikari claims 200 likes. There you go. I like it.
I like them natural, I don't like plastic booties and lips. Struggling strippers always trying to sneak in the Ville. 21. You didn't get no wristband, then you can't get no tip.
Tobes has a routine. Does not like
Now
that
I'm
routine
more of
upset. I feel you.
like Tyler Durden type.
I like doing my
where,
stuff, right? I like doing stuff my time, my way.
You've been red pilled.
The problem is Hassan gets only girls. Hassan is a good-looking dude, man. Smart, good-looking dude. Good for him. He used to be really overweight too, so it's not like Hassan just kind of rolled out of bed and he's what he is. Hassan has dealt with weight issues in his past, and that's the extent I know about his history. But he's worked hard for what he's got, so good for him.
I'm her sugar son, her sugar daddy was 50.
I thought Hassan was an incel. Yeah, has Hassan declared celibacy for some reason?
Nah, dude. That's a lie.
Reaper Leviathan is a creature in the video game Subnautica. Wow. Hikari, you must have some great pictures on Tinder, because I don't know if anybody would know the game Subnautica on Tinder.
Let's talk about Subnautica on fucking Tinder. Get
Too
the fuck
short
outta
to be
here.
a trophy husband. Come on.
Give a back shot to a back hurt. Back shot. Throwing through the money till my hands hurt. Cash out.
Hey, Subnautica's a cool game. I'm just saying, in the world of Tinder, normies out there don't know what Subnautica is, right? I barely know what Subnautica is, and I'm on Twitch.
Draco make you put up that little Uzi. I don't want no features, niggas groupie. Pass it to the gang, quarterback sneak.
Hassan said he struggles now because he only talks about socialism memes, and apparently that isn't hot.
Smoking gas, nigga, I re up at the BP. 5'5", she might ride or die. Never tell a lie. We like
I'm sure Hassan's doing okay. Subnautica get the girls going these days. What a time to be young. Right? Only had one really sucky pic I took on my phone looking in a mirror.
I turned down the pussy. For real, man.
And your
Like,
bills late, and your rent due, and you never need a man to defend you. You already pissed off on your menstrual.
Average in a small town, Slayer.
Cause he been through, You a star player, and he benched you. In your corner, I never go against you.
Mordau, the best game. Yeah, Erdna's into this game that's a battle royale with bows and arrows, and I hope they introduce pouring hot oil on people. It'd be hilarious.
So I put 100 racks in your purse now. 5'5", she might ride or die. Never tell a lie. We like Bonnie Clyde. Looking at her thigh, like do it come with rice. She don't like
Mordau does look pretty fun. I was watching Erdna play it.
Mordau needs hot oil, like massage.
Out for the night. Out for the night. Out for the night. Out for the night.
Whoa. Coop's here. What's up, Coop? Mordau needs hot oil. You should be able to pour hot oil on your enemies as they scale the wall. That was the funniest part of that game, was watching people try to climb up the wall and Erdna just slash him with his butcher knife. Like, get down. Get out of here.
One man army from the get-go. One man army pulling kid though.
He doesn't know what
Talking
the fuck
out your
you
neck, get your tag toe. I'm a killer whale, you a tadpole.
Like,
Nigga, you got asthma, you don't want smoke. Who want cancer? I'm giving out smoke. I got too many bitches, I can't trip, bro. Most of the time, I be caked up with my stick, bro.
Canadian Republican says, should I see how quick I can get banned here? Why do you want to get banned? We don't have anybody banned in this channel. Zero. Zero bans. Why would you want to be banned?
Gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke. Put my Glock down, that's a no-no. When I wear my suit, I told my fofo. Y'all ain't killing shit, y'all niggas hoes.
Rockstar ready. May I ask a question?
Started with a deuce, turn it to a 38. Then I got a Glock 9, turn it to an AK. First I was a lead shooter,
You player.
She done caught rub burn.
Dose is here. What's up, Dose? How you doing, man? What will be special? Nah.
My young niggas ready to crash, they don't give a fuck. Let it bang, let them hang, I'ma drop mine. I don't need no shooter, everybody know I pop mine. I'm in crucial on
You wouldn't get banned anyways. You would just get timed out for 24 hours.
I got time to cop mine. Murder gang, nigga, I'm redder than a stop sign.
Makes me hungry.
Niggas know you need to cut out all that dead rhyme. Skinny caprice, you think you find it in your bitch, huh? You niggas mad cause I keep throwing up zone 6, huh? Like look at Savage, little bitch ass, he think he the shit, huh? I think I am when I'm riding with this stick, huh? I think I am cause I just fucked that nigga bitch, huh? I swear to God, my deal worth 7 figures, not 6, huh? You think you hard, you wanna get shot all up in your shit, huh? Gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke, gun smoke.
Sarcasm's hanging out late. What's up, dude?
Gun smoke.
Stale memes.
Put my Glock down, that's a no-no. When I wear my suit, I told my fofo. Y'all ain't killing shit, y'all niggas hoes. Crying over pussy, you a broke joke.
Yep, Kari's representing the ladies in here.
Hikari, it's weird. I could have sworn my name made it pretty obvious I'm female, but apparently Faith and Hikari aren't female-seeming words.
Pockets on cheese is heavy on the cheddar. Run out with your money, Savage, AK Jerry Heller. Too much drip, I'm running.
I'm giving me some little smooth instrumental beats.
You always tripping, bitch, you must look up the Ella. It's only the first night and she
Chill instrumental beats.
on my back, just so I ain't have to cuddle. Nothing by me average, hit her with a Fendi rubber.
Rockstar Ready said, I'm thinking of doing my own discussion stream on today's current politics. Any advice you can give to start off? For sure, man. Definitely do it. Number one, everybody's voice is unique, and we need more people out there expressing themselves. So definitely do it. It's a wonderful experience. As far as my tips, when you first start streaming, don't put too much thought into it. Just press go. Like, don't worry about getting a nice camera or audio or background or whatever. Don't worry about your graphics being great or anything like that.
don't take advice. I don't care about price.
Because you just need to start and get ready to talk to yourself for a while. My first stream, I talked to myself for 45 minutes. So you have to keep talking because you can't sit there in silence and wait for someone to say something to you. So you've got to pick subjects that you're excited about, and since you mentioned you want to talk politics, pick stories that are in politics for the day and start talking about them and don't stop. My first stream, I talked for 45 minutes straight before somebody said anything. 45 minutes talking to myself, no pauses, just going. So get ready to do that. And it's gonna take time, man. I've been doing this for 10 months, and it takes a long time to develop a community and to get better at streaming. It seems easy from the outside, but you are running your own TV show.
Reach into somebody else's
and there's a lot
stream.
of factors, a lot of emotions that go into it.
I do this whole
and
thing.
it's just
very rare that
it's
I
a
hear
marathon,
somebody
dude.
say like deplatform this dude.
But you should definitely do it.
Johnny Wicked. What? What? We're in on.
Hey Holly,
What the
you look
fuck?
ashamed and sad in all of the nudes you sent my husband. Maybe you wouldn't have such chronic self-esteem issues if you weren't fucking people who were married.
I lost all my friends counting bands in the belly.
Yeah.
Diamonds on me doing handstands.
That was wild.
If she wanna dance, let her dance for the
Q-Bucks, what's up? Hello.
If you really wanna know the
How old are you? I'm 24. Yeah, that was a spicy tweet. Oh, did you see his stuff? Yes, out loud, I saw his stuff. At least one picture of that.
Had the same friends when I was bummy. They should have when they did stand up.
Abraham, call into the show.
Crocodile wristband 21
Debate some of your shitty beliefs.
That she need to go and get
Come
a
on,
job
man,
at
do it.
Sunny. Made it from
Art
the bottom
Fuel
of the start.
25, very cool.
Playing with a stick like a guitar. Why you got a 12-car garage?
The chances Water O'Clock or Mr. Big Balls would be here is quite slim. I don't know. Water O'Clock is literally always on.
Johnny, one of my favorite fucking streams. If you want to check her
Q-Bucks,
out,
we were talking about Pro Jared for a second. We're not gonna dwell on it, but we were talking about Pro Jared for just a second.
Who gon' be around when the fame and the cash gone? I lost all my
Curls love my game.
Johnny Wicked, you can catch her at twitch.tv/JOHNNY.
The Pro Jared thing is kind of weird to me. I don't know, some internet
She's a
nobody
lefty,
cheating on his
but
wife would
she's
be such
very
a big
open to,
deal.
like,
It was
she's
mostly a big
like
deal because they made it a big deal.
gun rights,
Like,
that sort of thing.
it was mostly a big deal because Heidi made it a big deal. I mean, I'm not saying that it wasn't a big deal to begin with. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have. I'm not saying anything except they made it a big deal.
I said greedy with the dollar, giving no apologies. All these mans with their fucking hands out, trying to spare some. Never stress them. I got plenty pesos. I've been all alone on my own in my new mansion. Everybody says I went ghost jumping.
Became a big deal, and also he sent pictures of himself to minors and asked for nudes from his fans. Yes, and supposedly she was okay with that until she realized that it was a power move or a power struggle, or however you say that. Curious, how did you earn the 10-pound balls? They are actually quite light, my dude. They are definitely hollow because Mardi Gras beads are cheap as fuck. I was adorable, and someone on a Mardi Gras float gave them to me. Bim Gamer, you got it backwards, my dude. You definitely got it backwards. Not as bad as James Charles. Yeah, not the mod show off. Welcome to chat.
We're out of
Definitely
drinks,
not
my
as bad as James
friends.
Charles.
God damn it.
Did you see Tati's video?
Water to wine.
I watched all 43 minutes of that shit. Not even gonna lie, I like Tati a lot, and I used to watch James Charles a little bit. So I definitely watched all 43 minutes of Tati's silky smooth voice
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
through
I
all
start.
that bullshit.
I took the top off
And
the
am I
car.
saying that she should have done it? No. Am I saying that I thought it was entertaining to watch? Yes.
Stick for the wall. Checks out deposit. Money just
I didn't
stick
know
with the
minors
boy.
were involved with the pro
Lot of
Jared
model
thing,
bitches
though.
check for me,
I guess
nigga
that
don't
makes a
check
lot
for me unless
different.
you
That
got
is a
checks
big
for me. I kept
deal.
it still
Hell
like a
yeah.
hobo, no checking me.
Can I
Way
get
back
a
when D-Lo
TLDR
had
on the
to
Pro
spot
Jared
attention.
thing?
So
So
many hoes
basically,
had to
Pro
get
Jared
up, I
is a
said to me, she
YouTuber.
left
I
her
didn't
body
know
home
anything
and
about
bought
him
a
until
net to me. I
this.
did a walk through that in the jet to me.
His
Y'all
wife
niggas show
is
price less than my
makes
travel fee. One of my
cosplay,
arms worth of tea.
and
Watch so much that
apparently
a car came with it.
he
Back in the day, I
was
used to rob with no mask on, shit on my wrist. I would've killed the
screwing
whole
one of their
house,
best
and I went to
friends.
school high, I
Her
ain't
name
go
is
to class,
Holly
though. I was with
for
the
like the
OGs,
past
learned about
year,
the glass,
and
bro.
they're
I'm
getting a
with the
divorce
deuce five,
over it.
I'ma keep my ass,
And
bro.
he
Break
made
yourself,
this
leave his brains on
pithy
dash, bro.
little,
I'm with Sid and Lil
you
Baby,
know,
yeah.
smooth
He got 4 choppers,
over
this fool.
kind of
Way before
announcement,
rapping, on God, I was trapping.
and
Sneaking
didn't
my
admit
Glock
to
in the
cheating.
core, God. I
And
got my cake from
so
Osama
Heidi
bin
got
Laden,
real
little nigga, he
mad,
signed
and
this
she
shit.
was like,
Straight up. I'm for a gang. If you reach for my chain, then a nigga gon' die.
this
in
is
this
what
bitch.
happened.
A, B, C, D, E,
All
F,
out
G,
in the
wagon, y'all
this
nigga
is
doing
what
that
happened.
big capping.
Isaac
I ain't with the
Samal
funny shit.
Smith,
First thing
thoughts
y'all
on
get into a
tradition and
handshake is
culture.
the beat clap.
Ooh, that's
Yo,
a
mama
really
gon' have to
good
make a
one.
GoFundMe.
Samal
Y'all
Smith,
niggas
would you
keep
like to
doing that
come
sneak
into
jab,
the
straight up. Gucci had to kill the whole woods just to
I'm
make
gonna
young
link the
savage this
Discord
motherfucking
for
meat
you
jack.
really
I think,
quick.
I think
Here
Johnny
it
Wicked
is.
is fucking
Right
lit the
there.
fuck up right now.
You can come into the Discord and you can tell me your thoughts on tradition and culture. You can tell me your thoughts on whether or not we should be preserving tradition and culture, on whether or not the government should be involved in preserving tradition and culture.
I knew I would figure it out. I knew. I took the million.
Is tradition not a part of culture? Not necessarily.
Say my name made a bring out a cry. We got
Bring your own
Brooksy Filter?
traditions in.
I've been dripping and just as a child.
I'm not sure.
I hit your bitch, she'll jump out. Cartier Bergy for her, they don't come out. They get the sweat.
Canadian Republican, welcome to chat. I am a liberal. I don't like to say that I'm a liberal, actually. I like to say that I am a progressive. But I am technically on the libertarian socialist spectrum. On the spectrum of I'm in the lower left corner of the political spectrum that goes across two axes. I am a libertarian socialist or a social libertarian. And I am those things because I believe not only in the sanctity and the freedom and the rights of the individual, but also in the responsibilities of the society.
You don't know what I saw. Can't be without it.
God bless capitalism. I'm not gonna lie, I am a socialist and a capitalist. If you think that's weird, call me. If you think that's cool, call me. If you think that those two things don't go together and you want to talk to me about it, go to the Discord. Call me. We will get somebody in there. And Zegray71, what's up? Good to have you.
Up, homie.
Socialism is for naive people. Say that to my face, Videlbraham.
Y'all know.
Come to my Discord and say that to my face.
21 games.
Q-Bucks
Till I'm
using
gone.
the
24.
emote that I had specially made for this channel because I love you guys. If you would like to use, hold on, let me go get it. If you would like to use
When it's time for
the
smoke,
very
they gon'
special
cop out.
Super Jesus emote,
This
this is the part where I
AK-47 made in
chill
Moscow.
out my channel.
All these dead bodies
If
got
you would
me
like to
seeing
use the very
strange
special
things.
Super Jesus
Both sides of
emote
the
based
gun,
on
I
my
done
hat,
felt the pain. Drive
then you
by
should
now,
definitely
we the walk-up
subscribe.
gang. I come from the six
Just
where they
saying.
chalk up lane.
Just
Slide in and out. Spend a night, I doubt. Gold grill mouth. I come
No
from the
debate
south.
live,
You
only
was
on
still in
Discord.
car.
What are you
was
talking
inside the
about,
house. I know
Isaac?
he gonna
That
be around
is
one day right
live.
now. Call him a
Fuck
mouse.
you
That is
talking about?
live.
I subscribe. All my niggas shice. You can roll the dice. You might lose your life. Keep my destiny eagle on me. He not nothing nice. I just need one Glock. Now I just need one mic.
I done did a
Very
lot
bad
in the streets and I'm
beliefs.
fat. PTSD like I came from Iraq. You made it from the
That
gutter, then
isn't
I'm
saying
tipping
it
my
to your
hat.
face. That's
Don't
so
go big on me,
naive.
you might get hit with this mat.
You're
I
so
don't need no host.
naive.
You get burned like toaster. I
It
don't drink no
hurts
liquor,
my
but
heart
I'm smoking no more
to see
mimosas.
someone be
We been
so
getting that Jewish money, everything is kosher.
naive.
Buy myself
Otis
a
O,
Venador and buy my
welcome.
bitch a roast.
Art Fuel, thank you for
Drive my
joining
Lambo
the
to the stove.
Discord.
I'm a wave with my doors. I'm on
Get in the
Glenwood,
general
not the
chat.
Ave, nigga, the road. Talking on a pillow, nigga, that shit for the hoes. I never
Get in the
snitch
general
on my
chat if you want to
enemy, on
talk
my
to
bro.
me, and I'll move
I'm
you
so
over to
21,
on air.
dog. I'm so SG. I'm so 4L gang, I keep a Glock, not an XD. Head so good,
There's
she
a
not
guy
even
in my
white, still
class
call
who
her
asks
Becky.
me,
Bitch, I'm real
always
cock so much, I can
asks
press
me,
a
are you
button,
interested
that's
in
nasty.
communism? No joke.
30 on the
Goddamn.
glizzy, got my pants dizzy.
Not the mod
Playing
show
around
off.
with
The
savage,
U.S.
you
version
get
of
shot in the
capitalism
kid.
has some socialist
So many
ideas,
drums,
but
he
pure
gon' think a
socialism
band
is a
hit
bad
him.
idea, aka
Chopper clap his ass, he thought
Venezuela.
a hand hit him.
Venezuela!
We're fitting.
JB on
We're
the
fitting,
brick.
boys.
Make your crew do the
Take
electric
that.
slide.
I need like the commercials I've been working on.
Want it? Some monies in general? Ah, it's Q-Bucks.
Fronted me some bags, I ran out the same night.
Q-Bucks, I'm about to move you. Hello, Q-Bucks. Are you doing well today? Would you like to debate me on something on this Discord? Debate me on something on this Discord? Q-Bucks.
You might lose your life. Keep my desert ego.
Q-Bucks.
He not nothing nice. I just need one Glock. Nas need
Ahem.
one mic. My brother down the road. They tried to give him life. He swear he's so creative. Turned a toothbrush to a knife. Savage got your wife. He playing with herself on Skype. She thought
Q-Bucks
the
is
AC
not
was
speaking.
on. It was just my
Oh well.
We pull up ready to shoot. Y'all ready to fight.
What?
Pull up
Oh
ready
What
to
well.
happened?
Y'all
Sorry.
ready to
Sorry,
die.
Q-Bucks.
Broke ass nigga get killed riding a bike. Pussy. Savage left his gun at home, nigga. Yeah, right.
Oh well. Oh, sorry, Q-Bucks. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Whoa, whoa. You running around drinking liquor, taking pictures cause you miss me. I know you miss me. You running around drinking
Yeah,
liquor,
Q-Bucks,
fucking
if you
niggas
did
'cause
want
miss me.
to be live, then
You can sleep with half the world, bet you still won't forget me.
ooh.
You can fall in love, get married, have kids, I still be the realest nigga hit it.
Sean Hughes.
Straight up.
What are we debating? We can talk about whatever you want. Jabe J, what's up? Welcome to chat. Yeah, capitalism's not working out so well either for us, my dude. Can you persuade me to your ideology? Hell yeah. I am going to persuade you to my ideology simply by saying that I believe in the rights of the individual to do whatever they want as long as it's not hurting other people. And I also believe
Isn't
in
that
the
an
social
argument for
responsibility
capitalism,
of the overall populace to those who are the least fortunate. If that sounds like a common sense ideology to you, then perhaps you're a libertarian socialist. Perhaps you're a social libertarian. However you want to say it. Yeah, what percentage of Venezuelan workers own the means of production? Which technically that would make it communist, but you know that's... Zigra71 says our president has pissed on our constitution. I'm assuming that you're talking about the president of the United States, Donald Trump. You're looking for new career ideas, Art Fuel. Well then. Perhaps being a politician. Since all of ours are shitty. Those without power need to be given enough power to have power. And Water O'Clock says why? Fucking why? Woman is left liberal, man is right authoritarian, both need each other. Next question. Isaac Samal Smith, if you're really going to boil down the ideology of a male and a female to two completely different things that do not complement one another, and then say that they need each other, then I'ma need you to get into my chat and talk to me about this, because I'm not gonna be able to sleep at night knowing that you actually think that and think that way. What's your headset? It's
Today was a good day. Post some activists.
It's a Steel series.
Was a good day. I woke up with your bitch. Today was a good day.
Yes, I need to sleep.
Today was a good day. Ain't have to
Sam
spray
Cedar,
the
what's
cake.
up?
Today was a good
August
day.
29th, welcome to chat.
Today was a good day. My brother beat his
Abraham
case.
says that
Today
Donald Trump
was
is
a
the best
good
president
day.
of the modern era.
Day. Murder with the 4-5.
Canadian Republican females are far weaker and SJW. So every female, including Melania Trump, including Sarah Huckabee Sanders, including Miss Sarah Palin, those are all examples, evidently, of female SJWs. Because apparently we don't know what SJWs are anymore in this country. Or in this chat.
Nigga is stolen, hop out and park 'em, nigga then walk home. All of this gang talk, walk with me.
I'm rusty, but I can get on and embarrass myself. Hell yeah, want it? Come on, dude. What's the chat? I
What's
didn't
up,
pay
Wally?
for the chat.
How you doing, bro?
It's me.
You there? Hello.
Cuba, hell yeah.
Was a good day. Ain't have to spray the K. Today
Wani.
was a good day. Post some activists. Today was a good day.
Hey, bro.
I woke up
I'm
with
about
your
to move
bitch.
you.
Today was a good day.
Wanted.
Cross her off the
Hello.
list.
Alright,
Today
hello.
was a good
Hello,
day.
hello,
Ain't
what's
have to
up?
spray the K. Today was a good
How do
day.
you
I
feel
sold
about
a
Canadian
brick of
Republicans
yay.
saying that
Today
all
was a
females are
good day. My
SJW
brother beat
compared
his
to
case.
males?
Today was a good day.
I feel like it's ignorant.
I feel like it's somebody who needs to go to bed because they're probably like 12 and it's probably past their bedtime. But anyway, is there anything that you would like to specifically talk about, or would you like to, you know, go straight into private property, or what's up?
I was more concerned with being convinced of your idea.
Okay. All right. So, would you like to be convinced of a certain aspect of my ideology of being a social libertarian? Because I feel like the overall ideology to me is very common sense. And it just makes a lot of sense to me. Like I said, it's definitely just the rights of the individual combined with the responsibility of society to those who are weaker than us.
Okay, so what do you mean by common sense?
Common sense, that's a good question. So common sense being something that when you say it out loud and when you try to implement, it just feels correct. It just feels like it makes some sense. You know,
Feeling is
common
a
sense.
failure.
Well, with that, I would say that's one flaw right there. That it feels like it, not necessarily that it is right.
Okay. So you're saying that having a responsibility of the overall populace, which part are you saying feels right but doesn't look right when it's implemented? Is it the part where we have a responsibility to the common, poor, sickly of us? Or is it the part where each of us has individual liberties?
Go elaborate on individual, because one could say that we already have these things.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not saying that we don't already live in a social libertarian society. I'm saying that I am a social libertarian. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so proud to be a freaking American, my dude, is because I already live in a place that sort of should ideally highlight my own ideology, according to the Constitution and according to the way that the Founding Fathers idealized us living. But
So
anyway.
It seems like you're talking about it in a way it isn't like that. So how is our modern day society not what you envision it to be? Or not
what it should be. In one particular way, we do live in a somewhat... Ooh, Kalis has followed. Thank you so much, Kalis, for the follow. In one way, we are not as individually free as we could be because corporations and large conglomerates have a lot of money in our politics, and therefore the individual vote does not count as much as a conglomerate with large amounts of money. Also, Canadian Republican, I'm so sorry, but 1 second, I'm gonna have to address Canadian Republican. Canadian Republican, A, that's a bad word, and if you're gonna use it, you better have a goddamn good reason. B, Canadian Republican, we have a rule in this chat, okay? We follow free speech, we follow all that, but if you are gonna call somebody mentally ill or a name or whatever, you didn't have to time them out even, but you have to back it up. You have to back it up with some actual thought out comment about why they are something. So if you really want to go around saying that people are some awful thing, you have to back it up with a comment, okay? Back it up with the DSM-4. That's fucking hilarious. You enjoy myself. Welcome to chat. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, Wani. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
So, okay, getting back to common sense ideologies and how we don't live in the society that I would like us to live in, despite the fact that we have the framework for it in the United States Constitution.
If you want to talk
one
shit
way
in my
is
chat,
conglomerates
I don't
taking
give a
away
fuck.
the power
You can say
of the individual vote.
literally.
One way is
anything
our
you
government
want.
not being as
Literally anything you want.
being
I will
too
never
bureaucratic
ban
and not delivering on the socialist policies that it wants to deliver on. Let's see. I could go on, but do you have any more questions to follow up that?
Yeah. So going back to the whole individual vote thing, individual liberty, I would say that the way things are now is sort of the correct way to do things, because you wouldn't walk down the street and ask a random person what they think about this important, right? Yes, I agree that they live in the society and they play a part in it, but there are specialists who have studied these sorts of things who would know more about this topic than say the general layperson.
Yes, and that is why we live in a republic and not a full-on individual vote democracy. However, even when it comes to voting for those who are supposed to be our experts in a republic, they are paid off. Those people are paid off, and so the vote, the individual vote, does not count for swaying the opinion of our republic's individual, what's the word that I'm looking for? Figureheads? Hierarchical...
Representatives?
Representatives! Thank you so much. I have lethologica so bad. Lethologica is, of course, where you can't remember the words for things, and I have it so freaking bad, dude.
Pretty sure.
Anyway, so our representatives are paid off.
To this.
Their vote, their opinions are not swayed by the individual person's vote, by the individual person's opinion of them. They are swayed by the money that is given to them by conglomerates, by large corporations, which are treated as individual voters. Because that's totally okay.
What if that becomes an as well?
I acknowledge the problem.
Mr. Big Balls 666.
I admit that this is a problem, but then how do we go about fixing it?
Well, friends, that is the problem, isn't it? We would have to have some sort of legislation that gets big money out of politics. The problem therein is, of course, a cyclical one. It is, we would never get that legislation through because there are too many people who were already paid off in our republic. So how do you get the legislation through if the people who are supposed to be passing the legislation are already paid off, you know? You would have to have...
Anarchy,
and that's why there are checks and
power
balances in the executive branch and the judicial branch and the legislative branch. You're supposed to have at least one branch preferably the executive branch, have a lot of power to just, bam, put the ban hammer down on something as ridiculous as having corporations count like their individual voters. Okay? But, unfortunately, it seems like nobody who has a chance in hell at winning the presidency is going to be that president. If we had somebody stand up and be that president and say, I am putting down an executive order
followers,
that says we are getting big money out of politics,
you know, the whole
then I think that we could have a shot without some sort of real uprising. You know what I'm saying? Kalis, hello, first time here. Would you agree to discuss with a Brazilian streamer? It would be so fun. Trying to refute you. He has a degree in economics. Very cool, Kalis. Tell him to call into the show. Tell him to go to the Discord. Anyway, Wani, do you have any follow-up questions?
Okay, so suppose we do take big money out of politics, right? And every representative, every president is there because of every good, we all believe in him, right? Then there's still going to be corporations on this who would be able to influence foreign policy of other countries and have influence there. And then that influence in other will just reflect back onto the US. So, I don't know. I feel like it all money and how we add so much value to it.
Wait, what was that last part about money?
How everyone can just be swayed with money. Because even if you fix, say, the pseudo-corruption in the US, you won't be able to fix it elsewhere.
Well, I've said this before and I'll say it again. One of my favorite quotes from the Founding Fathers is, well, my second favorite quote is, you have a republic if you can keep it. My first favorite quote by the Founding Fathers is,
as soon as you have two parties, you're fucked.
I'm sorry. The price of democracy is vigilance. The price of democracy is vigilance means that if you want to have a free society the way that we intended, then you need to have a vigilant populace. That means that they need to have the wherewithal and have the education to stand up and to be aware when things are going south, and to be aware when people in their republic, when their representatives are being swayed by money. And if we, the populace, are also being swayed by money, and also being swayed by pretty words and not being educated on whether or not we are actually being shilled, well then that's kind of our fault, isn't it? And so if our republic fails because we're not doing what we're supposed to do, then that's our fault. And if we fall, we fall. Every great empire's got to fall at some point. And if we fall, we fall when it comes to not doing what we're supposed to do. And I hate to say that because I love the United States of America. I really do think that it has all the potential in the world, all the framework in the world to be the greatest country that has ever walked the face of the earth. But if it's our fault, it's our fault. You know?
Potential, not reality.
And by R, you mean sort of the system?
I mean the common populace. I mean the common populace, the millions upon millions upon millions of us who are quote-unquote common people.
I would have to disagree. So, even though at some point it is the populace's fault for not standing up, they didn't choose to not get educated. I think the main problem is that a lot of people don't have a good enough education, because the education system just doesn't get enough, right? I come from a suburban area, and so, I come from a bad suburban, and so I've sort of experienced this firsthand, where most people, they don't even care about politics. They sort of go to high school, sit around in class, class, do nothing, and then go work out at Walmart, which is what a lot of my
Viewers, if you'd
right.
like to get
and
in
I can
on
only
this,
imagine that this is happening.
check out twitch.tv/. Johnny Wicked. You can see
and
the
I would say that this
Discord
is the
link,
populace,
or type it in the chat, one of the two.
Right?
We'll get a filter in on you, make sure you're not just going to scream grr.
So it's the system's fault,
non-stop.
Yeah.
And then
I would say if this was
her.
50 years ago or 100 years ago, I would definitely agree with you. But at this point, with all of our access to the facts and things that are going on with, Captain Loaded just
facts
came in the
not
chat
facts,
with
my
exactly
friend.
what I'm trying to say. People can educate themselves, and there are some of us who are so down in the dumps and poor and uneducated and mentally ill and mentally handicapped. There are some of us who genuinely can't educate ourselves, but there's a whole hell of a lot more of us who can, especially with the internet.
Okay, so you guys are talking about these. Everybody has access to the facts, right?
Yeah. Everybody has
Well,
access to what is happening when it is happening.
But nowadays, right, these facts are sort of skewed in multiple ways to align themselves saying its agenda, right? Like if you go to Fox News or if you go to CNN, right, they'll report on the same story but with two different viewpoints. And that's where a lot of 30, 40,
What's up,
50
Water?
year old people
How you doing, boy?
are getting their quote unquote facts.
How about you?
Absolutely,
If
absolutely.
you're young,
I'm pretty fucking
and if you're young,
trashed.
right, you're probably on Facebook. You're
Why?
probably on Twitter.
It's Sunday,
And whoever you
I'm
follow,
drinking
that's your
alcohol. I
quote
don't know.
unquote fact.
How you doing?
Right.
I've got to tell you,
Been drinking for
I've got to tell you,
for like 5
I'm
years
young,
or more.
and I am aware,
Sorry.
despite the fact that I'm
Turn
young,
down the rest of this.
of the fact that those news sources are skewed. And so I make the
Turn down, Johnny. Sorry, say again.
I haven't been drinking for a while. I haven't had a drink in like 5 years. The last time I had it was accidental.
Whoops. Like some vanilla extract or some shit.
No. It was when I still lived with my family and my dad. He made a cocktail. And he bought a tonic without alcohol and he mixed it up with the alcohol. I was like, oh, it's a soda drink. So I took a sip and it had alcohol in it. I was like, oh shit.
Gotcha. Are you trying to get in on the stream or what's up?
Well, I will ask Johnny in the chat if I can get on. She wanted to talk to me about the shit show debacle that's happening with Apple von Crumble. Oh, I'm not persistent.
Right.
If she wants to have me on, I'll
Right.
jump in.
I just got to say that the last debate the thing that I came in on, I appreciate your quote unquote like Nazi right wing fucking like whatever they want to label that shit as. I appreciate that you're able to like extend beyond the labeling politics that happens often. So anyway,
Thank you. It's just political incorrectness, when you learn to kind of ignore it. It's always funny when you encounter people who can't ignore it.
right. Yeah, they have to virtue signal that they're, they have to flex and like, I don't know. The whole thing is like the Antifa labeling people as Nazis, but if you're trying to have an intellectual conversation about these whole things, you have to like shy away from a lot of these ideas that might have even like a 10% reality in reality. And I really appreciate you having the balls to fucking say some of the things that you've said. So that's my take.
Nice. What are your politically correct opinions, or if you argue, what kind of political incorrectness can you bring in?
I think genetics is a problem that a lot of people have, where they say like these studies might cite genetics as like a source of it, and in a way I would negate it with like the social constructs of a lot of like for example black people. um it's not genetics really that are pointing to these figures. It's the social issues that are faced within the black culture. It's not like the if you were to look at for example um athletics. Why are there more black people in athletics that rise above the crop? Well, potentially it's because of social engineering that say that the only way you're going to get out of this ghetto is if you play basketball really well. It might be a genetic thing where you say that a person of more black heritage has the fine what's it called, quick muscle
Yeah, I get it.
you know what I'm saying? But to say that it's one and not the other is a ridiculous statement. I'm not saying that, if you're black, you're naturally predisposed to have a culture of, gang mentality. But what the the statistics have shown is that the social economics of everything that is incorporated within the black culture has proven a higher disposition towards gang culture, for example. And the real question is, why is that? I'm not saying that you're black, therefore you're going to become a gang member. I'm saying
No,
that
no,
you're
no. It's not about race. It's never about race. You see,
right.
genetics, they show us something is that generally low intelligence predisposes you to some things. And
Hello.
Hey, Grand Lord, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you trying to get on air?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So what is your argument, or where are you coming from, my friend?
I'm coming from England. Where are you coming from?
Wisconsin. Are you familiar?
Yeah, well, I know the United States. That's where I was born. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So what is your argument? Basically, I'm just trying to make sure you're not going to scream out ethnic slurs on Johnny's
I
stream.
mean, okay.
What's up?
Just give me 1 second. I just want to make an argument that socialism is not actually a political party at all.
It's an economic one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the four spectrum argument as opposed to the two.
Yeah. That's yeah. You get
All
the
right, get in there, get in there.
I don't. Oh, I can't.
Type in chat and ask to get in there. Wait, can I move you? I'm a mod.
Yeah, try.
Oh, I can't. Oh, I can't move you. I can't. Sorry.
Wait, Wani is a mod, and I'm not.
Oh wait, yeah, no, I can.
I just want to let you guys know beforehand. I'm a pretty eerie guy. So
you sound very eerie in your.
Eerie.
Thank you. I didn't move to England for a job. I moved to England to pursue something. So
some pussy
Cool
or
beans.
what?
To pursue the Covenant.
Covenant.
The Covenant from Halo?
No, like the Covenant of the Brothers Order.
I don't know what the fuck that
All
is.
right.
You should
All right,
explain that
fam.
on stream.
You got it, fam. Yeah, explain it on stream for us.
I will.
I'll be listening.
Okay.
Just start with that. Don't even say anything. I first moved to England.
Should I just start off with a creepy comment? Be like, yeah, you know, I moved to the United Kingdom to pursue the Brothers Covenant, just so I could understand.
Yeah. Do exactly that. I'll be listening.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. That's my persona. The Grand Lord is not me.
The Grand Lord. Oh, there he goes.
Here we go.
Hello, dude. What's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, before I start, I wanna give myself a little brief background.
Oh my
for
God,
you,
he's
okay?
doing it.
My name is John. Okay. I was born in Arizona, but when I was 19, I moved to the United Kingdom, to Wales, actually.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't to move there for a job or an occupation. It was to officially move there to pursue a dream, which was to join the Brothers Covenant. I'm not sure if you know what that is, do you?
I do not know.
Would you like me to explain?
Sure thing.
Okay. The Brothers Covenant is well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a religious group. Some call it a cult. It's not a cult. It's
not a
group
cult.
of people that
It's not a cult, it's real. Trust me, bro.
It's a group of people who ensure the safety of refugee children. Okay. We have a small building.
By the way, what I was saying before,
three-story
the Grand
building
Lord came
right outside
was
of what
that genetics show it's not the race that presupposes black people to fail or have lower intelligence. It's never about race, because there hasn't been proven a link between race and intelligence. And to debunk this race causes you to be dumber. It's easy. Just find a high IQ, highly intelligent black person. You can do it. However, when you examine the whole population of, say, black Americans, their average intelligence is lower. So they have more dumb people, less smart people. That means their gene pool is different. So
Are we
if
talking
you
about
say,
Bill Murray's?
That's not a gene pool thing, though. I believe that it's like a social economic thing.
But here's the question: is it egg or chicken? Like, is it that their gene pool causes these impoverished state, or maybe that the impoverished state causes lower intelligence?
I'd say it
You
might
have
be a
to find out
cultural
that.
thing.
How come when they come to the UK and they kind of assimilate the differences in IQ, in education, in crime rate are still the same as in
Well,
Africa?
you answered that question already. As soon as they move to a different country, they're already at a disadvantage. No.
Well, this point is easily addressed by interracial adoption studies. If you take a small child which can't even walk, can't talk, and give him to a white family that can raise him like they would raise a white kid, scores are still the same. Maybe one,
Well,
maybe
you've
two white
again
points
already
higher.
addressed the problem. If you're adopted, automatically you're at a disadvantage to a person who has not been adopted.
Well, that's why you compare adopted kids to other adopted kids, because adopted white kids do almost exactly the same, say IQ-wise, if you look at IQ tests, as non-adopted white kids. So then your point about, well, socioeconomics, sure.
By how many points? Because my point is, if you're a white kid adopted to a white family versus a black kid adopted to a white family, would you not be faced with kind of the same rigmarole that you would expect from the racist rigmarole that everyone else is? faced with.
I don't know, it's kind of weird to suppose that because nobody forces these white families to adopt these black kids, so they want them. They want
That's a
them to.
failed argument. Why? Because we're taking oranges and sandwiches and saying that regardless of who they are, regardless of who the society is that is adopting these people, they're gonna perform the same.
Not the same. I'm not talking about general performance. Right now, I was giving an example of IQ tests that what they show, and they show that it's consistent whether you are adopted or not, and whether your adoptive parents are of the same race or not. And it's consistent for other races as well. There are studies done in Belgium where they adopted Korean kids into Belgian families.
Did
And
they
Korean
perform
kids
higher than
consistently were.
everyone else?
Yes, they performed slightly better than Belgians.
Okay, then I might say that that is some sort of actuality, but to say that
It's all
that
about
is
multiple tests and seeing whether this hypothesis of genetics affecting it so much, does it hold up in different conditions for different races? And yeah, same thing.
okay, but would you, for example, publish a study and say that purely Koreans as a genetic race are quote unquote better and really retain that statement, better than the white population or the black population?
Well, as a population as a whole, you have to give a defined criteria what is better referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're talking about the mean IQ score of the whole population, then sure, intelligence-wise, if you count for just IQ score, Koreans are better than, say, Belgians or French people, ethnic French people. But there are differences that can't be accounted in this saying better. Such differences are, for example, different distributions. You can have an average score higher, and the results might be very different.
Mm.
With men and women, men are the lowest of the society, but also the highest of the society. Indeed, the IQ scores reflect that because there
Their
are
mean
far more
is
men dumb,
different. Yeah, I got
but
you.
there are also far more geniuses among men. However, an average woman is slightly more intelligent than an average man.
True.
Feels bad,
I believe
man.
it. Wani, do you have anything to negate this?
That women have a higher IQ than men.
The far subsex of women versus men. The smartest of the smart are women versus the next level down.
Well, I don't have anything, but I would sure love to see where these facts are getting pulled from.
Right. That's my question as well. So my whole take on it is a lot of the theatrical attribution to statistics and so on and so forth are derived from a debate, right? If you want to show that whatever is true, then I would negate your statistics is basically what it comes down to. So I don't know. Maybe that's a truth. Maybe that's something that most people don't want to believe, but I'd really hit those statistics pretty fucking hard before I believed them wholeheartedly.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. you can't believe in these statistics even if you have a previous assumption, if your hypothesis that men tend to do better than women on in higher levels, in higher education or in business among CEOs, then you kind of have to test it. You have to look at everything. And only if nothing can actually go against your hypothesis that's built on including many assumptions and many criticisms. You have to account for everything, and if it's working, if it's consistent, and it can predict real life, say, outcomes, then it's valid. People criticize IQ tests for, they are abstract, they can't really tell how you will do in life, but in societies, yeah, higher IQ people tend to be more successful. It's not the only factor of success, but it's everywhere. Like, rich people tend to be smarter than poor people. And people
Smarter
who are,
is kind of a loaded term, though. No.
well, yeah, smart is about knowledge, but and people who are naturally intelligent that are poor, are born in poor families, are far more likely to climb the social ladder. You see that it's consistent. It can it kind of correlates with so many factors like income and other ways to measure success in life. Then it has some truth to it. You can't judge a person by it, but of society and as a way of assessing how important it is, sure, it's very helpful.
So let me propose this to you. You could be super smart, but not as fallible to moral impropriety, right? You'd be willing to throw somebody underneath the bus, and you could be rich as a result of that. No.
Well, I think he addressed this. He said that even if you have a high IQ, even if you're really smart, that doesn't value your humanness, like your self-worth. It doesn't. It has no say on how moral you are.
True.
Right. So you can't judge them. But my question is, right? So what do you define as? Are you using like the IQ score as a measure of how quote unquote smart somebody is? Is that what we're saying is
It's
smart?
about intelligence. Intelligence and being smart are two different things.
Well,
sometimes in our regular talk they are interchangeable, but not.
Well, how do you
science.
gauge smartness?
Oh, smartness. I don't know. There are a few ways. Like you can test a person, test their vocabulary. You can test their knowledge in mathematics. You can test their general knowledge.
I
Intelligence,
think
however,
that's a failed. I think that's a failed measure, though.
yeah, it's problematic because it doesn't. What we really want to know is how capable your brain is, and that is hard to measure if you try to test things that can be learned by everybody, like new words. It's easy to learn, or mathematical concepts. Sure, you can go to a university or a high school and learn those, and someone who's naturally more gifted can not know these things. So IQ tests account for that, and don't require any previous knowledge. They just give you a problem and ultimately attempt to assess what your natural problem solving capability is. These
And
tests are usually without using any vocabulary, so they aren't culturally dependent. They don't presuppose any knowledge. You just have a few pictures. Like made if you have passed at least one modern IQ test, they don't use words at all. You don't need to know any language to pass them. All you need to know is like the concept of completing the test, and that's it. And then you do your best. You finish those pictures. You find a matching one, an odd one, whatever. these tests have so objective in that way.
I don't know how they construct these IQ, so
Yeah, I don't know the whole process either, but it's very clear that a lot of thought is put into how do you actually do it. Maybe in the future we will have some kind of rated, objective, the most objective possibly IQ tests. The AI will itself kind of determine how hard a question is. It's possible.
Just
Yeah,
water.
it can be done.
I'm curious how you derive these positions. Where do you come from? Are you going from liberal to Republican to liberal to Republican? Like, how did you
Oh no.
cite these opinions that you have right now, or did you derive your opinions more from your parental and social lineage?
To defend him, I've actually heard similar things about how IQ exams are constructed and the things that they say about somebody's future on podcasts, but I never really looked at the actual
Right, there's
peer-reviewed.
definitely some sort of like drive towards these positions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I simply controversial topics, and for example, if I go on YouTube and search for a debate on a controversial topic like race and IQ, are these differences genetic or not? And then you listen to two people who are in the academia and they have a lot of evidence, and you watch them debate. I learn a lot just by this, when somebody has to defend their point and has to convince you, including you in the audience, then it's very helpful.
I think you're in the same boat I'm in, where you've heard people talk about this. You've heard professional academic people talk about this, but you haven't looked at their actual, which is I haven't.
I have a lot of studies on my PC. I have a lot in my documents folder that I have saved just for debates, like in the shit show debates right now.
All right, let's see it. Let's see this.
Let me ask you another question. Would you assume that statistics are generally accurate in their presumptions?
Well, I know about statistics from the university. The first time I actually looked into statistics was from the perspective of one of the professors who taught it in my university, and they explained how methodology works and how we can actually believe in statistics, because the methodology is rigorously, and so it's built this way. They know how much people they need to have a statistical analysis valid. They know
A good sample
how
size.
they can account for they
Would
account for abnormalities.
would you assume that statistics based on the presumptions of the person who is gathering the statistics are
Might be biased.
Might be biased, exactly.
It can be very biased, and it can be built on a few assumptions that are wrong. It cannot account for something that obviously can discredit the assertion of the person who collects the data. That's why, the research is open. You can see the methodology, you can see how they do
Not
it, and
always. Not always.
Okay, let's suppose this, right? Suppose I'm a professor. I'm a research person, and I'm doing research. Right? I spent 3 years or so gathering data from people, trying to support my hypothesis.
My
dude.
Hey, how fucked up do you think she thought that was?
We didn't hear most of it. I didn't.
I wasn't
anyway.
listening.
I mean,
We're
okay,
having
let me
more
put this in
productive.
perspective for you. There was a lot of awkward silences. in between my words from her.
I'm sure you creeped her out. Good job.
You're welcome. I'm gonna keep this going. Nobody tell her that I'm not who I am.
Alrighty.
Anyway, continuing, please.
So yeah, so I'm researching, right, and I've spent 3 years gathering this data, trying to support my hypothesis, right? And then next thing you know, I find a string of data that says that my hypothesis and all my research was actually wrong and that it's flawed. What am I going to do? Am I going to take that into consideration and throw 3 years of work away? Or am I just going to ignore that data set and continue to publish with the data that actually promotes my hypothesis?
You won't get paid.
That's
I
won't
why
get
peer review
paid.
exists, you know?
No, but
She stole him from us.
Anyway, yeah, so this whole predictive research ideology where you say, well, this is my hypothesis and I'm only going to collect data that supports this hypothesis is very real in this society. It's very real within science conjecture and so on and so forth. I don't buy into it. I'd be if there were multiple studies that supported this over multiple years, over multiple decades, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how a lot of studies that have made like an impact in like say the field of psychology, when they tried to replicate it, they didn't get the same results. And a famous one is the sort of rat utopia one. A lot of people have believed that the sort of theory of addiction, right, comes from this like sort of rat utopia and the environment that you're sort of in, right? But when they tried to replicate it, they didn't get the same. So things slip through the cracks of peer-reviewed journals.
That happens. That's why you need to replicate it. For example, there was one study that assessed that you can treat gender dysphoria by giving just one medication, like 1 gram per day or something like that for 1 year, and it helped. But the problem is, it was done on just one person. When they tried to collect to have a bigger group of people and test on them, it wasn't replicating that well. Just if it replicates, it works. If not, if something is interesting, be wary and just pray that more research in that area will be done.
I'll play on to another study that I dissected. The ACLU said that right-wing violence is prominent. It's growing within the North American sector. But if you look at it and you dissect it a little bit more, the left wing is misrepresented. You look at one representation of left wing politics, and it's a group of black activists that have basically said that Trump is shit, blah blah blah. They held a person in torture. You look that up on the ACLU's major data collection, and it doesn't exist. Right? That's an easy way to discredit these sort of resources that say that left wing is right as opposed to being objective in their opinion.
Yeah, I found a similar thing. I looked into one study that assessed that far right terrorism in the US is rising. And I looked into how they define the far right. And one of the criteria was, well, if you think that your way of life is under threat, you are on the far right. No, how stupid is that? Anybody can think that. Anyone on the political spectrum, someone on the left can think, in the past we had strong unions and now corporate America takes that away and workers don't have a say. He can say, our way of life is under attack. And by that study, he would be put into the far right category. So pay attention to how they people.
Yeah, so it just goes into what I was trying to sort of stress earlier. It's that things slip through the cracks of peer-reviewed journals, and so if you can't trust what these academic journals are saying, right, then it's like, well, what do you trust? Because these guys are supposed to be the guys who scrutinize every single piece of the smallest piece and evidence, right, and tries to be non-biased, but it is biased, right?
Yeah.
Just like the whole far right study and maybe some far left gender dysphoria stuff, right? So I don't know. The world's going to shits. I don't know what to trust. I can't trust Fox. I can't trust CNN. I can't trust Harvard.
Don't trust a fucking single word anyone says to you.
Yeah.
Oh god. But you see here, if you live your life not trusting anything and sort of like questioning everything, you don't get very far.
Because you're lazy? What?
Not because no, I'm saying that if you do it, right? If you do question everything, then you're not going to get far because you're always going to be questioning. There's a limit as to how much you should question. That's what I think.
Why? Because you're lazy? Like
No, not because
that.
lazy.
It is though. Like
Okay.
you don't want to test the theories of other people who are quote unquote political scientists. You don't want to left or right. You don't want to test these theories.
Okay, maybe it is a laziness thing, but it could also be that I don't have tools and I don't have the power to test it myself, right? If I contact 300 people and I say, hey, can you come on down and let me ask you some questions? Like, what do you think they're gonna say? They're probably gonna be like, who the fuck are you?
So shut them down.
What do you mean shut them down and get like someone else to talk to?
No, fucking talk to the people. Shut them down. Like Johnny Wicked, excellent example. If you're prepared to fucking say, if you're prepared to cite these studies and so on and so forth, and like say the thing that I just said, where the ACLU missed out on data points, then you're doing God's work, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know about God's work, but you are doing some work in some fashion.
All right.
I don't know. It's a lot of work. Too much work for this lazy guy.
Captain Loaded, thank you for the follow. They are considered not a cult by themselves, but possibly a cult by the United States government. And he moved there to help with the refugee crisis from Arizona. So
are they still talking about the cult?
It was very interesting. And then he had a little song, not really song, but he had a music clip that he played after it was done, and he said a little prayer.
Shit. NSA.
That's why you have this show, to have interesting people on.
That's exactly right, my dude. That is exactly right. I told him, Water, that if he would give me information on this organization, he said it's not an organization, it's a covenant. He said that he would give me information on this covenant, and I could do research on it. And if I did, I could do an entire dedicated stream to it. So.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, so I want to talk about I feel about topics that you will want to address, and I know you I think that you the people who consider gender a social construct. Is that correct?
Yes.
So,
I believe that too.
my question is, what exactly is
I
the
believe
use
it
of
too.
having gender as this kind of social construct? Because in the
Hmm.
past, say in the US, we can both agree that gender wasn't considered that much of a construct. It was generally, you're born a male, you are a male. So, usefulness of having gender as you see it.
What is the usefulness of having gender as I see it? Okay. Alrighty. First of all, let me say that just because something is a social construct does not mean that it does not exist. Gender definitely exists. Okay? However, did you say something?
It exists as a social
just said, yep.
construct,
Okay,
right?
okay.
I see that.
Gotcha. Now, there are some people who make a living on their gender. There are some people who make a living on their sex. For instance, if you are a prostitute or an escort, and you have someone looking for someone specifically of the female persuasion, as in born female having a vagina, then it's very important for you to have a gender that portrays that specific aspect of your reality. There are people who simply, for whatever reason, take pride in having a certain set of genitalia. I'm not one of those people. But there are people who do. There are people who take pride in having a certain set of genitalia. And so having a gender construct that portrays this particular set of being to the world, that's very mentally important for these people. Okay? So there are many different reasons why it would be important to have this, but the most important aspect, I think, of gender is portraying what genitalia one has. Now, there are lots of people who are transgender, and they more so
Hello.
have gender
What's
as
up?
something that they
How are
like to
you?
portray.
I'm sitting here looking at
Because
this,
it is
listening to this
What
gender
did you
conversation.
because
What
it
did she
is
say
in
when
their
she pulled
nature
you in?
to be more masculine
But she
or
just
more
wanted to talk to
feminine.
someone because she was really
Okay?
creeped out.
And it's not necessarily to
I hope you
display
know,
what is
like
in their
everything I did
pants.
say, I have experienced in real life. Like,
But
not.
I
that
don't
being
know what you
said,
said
I think it's just
because
mentally
I wasn't
important for
listening.
people to have gender in order to
Even better,
display
a mystery always
a
remains
certain
a happiness
masculine
for
or
the
a
soul.
certain feminine
All
outlook
right,
on
fam.
life. To me
You should,
personally, it is
you should do
not
me a little
important.
favor, Bonnie.
To me
Yeah, what you
personally,
want, man?
I would rather people
You
not
should,
even be able
after
to
this
tell
person gets
when they
off the
look
call,
at me
maybe
what's in my pants.
tell
Because
Johnny to check
I
her
don't think it's
DMs, and not
anybody's
only that,
goddamn
but
business.
Oh God.
And so I
no,
attempt
it's
to
nothing
make
bad. I
myself
gave
as
her some
androgynous
information
as possible.
about the
Do you see what I'm
Smithsonian
saying?
news that we have just
But for a lot
received
of people, that's
from
very
the West
important.
Wing portion of the cult. So,
You
I
should
see,
put it
but
in general so I can
when I
look
look
too.
at
okay,
gender
I'll do that right now.
identities and how it really manifests in real life, well, ultimately, gender identity is just how you reflect on yourself based on your actions.
There you go.
So
I just put it in
suppose you
general,
don't have
just for
gender
you.
identity at all. Suppose we all identify just by our biological sex, and how we behave isn't linked to any sort of concept such as gender. Why would I need gender if I can be just, say, I'm biological male and I can behave however I want? I just, when I ask you about what's the value of gender, I ask you, well, if you can be whoever you want to be and be defined by your actions in the real world anyway. A redundant fact. I see it as a label that kind of is not needed
Pointless.
if we want to be.
If we want to be post any sort of see on the one hand,
Blacks.
if you want to be a post what's the word I'm looking for?
There's no word.
When you prejudice, if you want to be a post prejudice world, then you probably want to live supposedly in a world where nobody has a gender. Okay, you're just defined by your actions, right? But on the other hand, if you're living in a post-prejudice world, then it shouldn't matter how you identify, even if you do identify by what's in your pants, and you act a certain way because of it. Then it shouldn't matter, you know? So there's two sides to the same coin.
Okay,
And
so do you see gender as a way for fighting for that post-gender utopia? So it's a way to find ways for people to be themselves?
gender, I don't believe in acting a certain way based on what's in your pants. I believe in acting a certain way based on who you are as a person on the inside and what you think of yourself and other people.
Why do we have to
But there are
classify
some
these
people
people
who,
as a
to them,
result
it is
of what
very
their actions
important. To them, it is very important to display what's in their pants, and that's also got to be recognized. So, am I saying that I personally think gender is necessary? No. I mean,
So let's throw
no,
it
I
out.
don't think gender is necessary
Why
to
are
me.
we mandating
But there are
that
some
you have to
people
call me a he?
to whom gender is very necessary.
So you're
This is just
a
a tough question.
libertarian on this point.
Yeah, I'm a libertarian on this point.
You don't really care whether it exists or not, but in a perfect world, it would be preferable to exist, right?
Yes, it would be preferable to me if everyone were only judged based on their actions. But
So
unfortunately,
you're not a woman. You are a person who behaves a certain way. You are an individual.
yes.
When you see the progressive movement to validate all these gender expressions, all these different genders, isn't that kind of goes against this freedom to be an individual you want? These labels, it seems like
Now,
it just creates new identities.
as I said, it is very important for some people to have a gender. It is very important for some people in their personal lives or in their public persona lives to have a gender. For instance, as I said, there are people who make a living based on the fact that they have a vagina. They are anything from porn stars to prostitutes to
Twitch stars.
People who specifically market things to people with vaginas. There are people who make a living based on the fact that they have a vagina, and that's a perfectly valid living. That's fine. And they need a way to express that.
It's sex related, so it's just genetically determined whether you have vagina or not. So it kind of goes. It's irrelevant whether you believe you're a man or a female. If you make money by having a vagina, it's a question that kind of isn't related to the gender construct. It's about,
well, the gender construct is about displaying a masculine or a feminine overtone in your overall like sense of living and how you are as a person. There's classical femininity and there's classical masculinity, and there is also neo-femme and classic femme, neo-femme and neo-masculine. There are people who are soft boys. There are people who are butch girls. There are so many different identities, and I think that it's very creative and expressive how we can do these things in so many different combinations. But do I think that we should be judged or hired based on what is in our pants and how we choose to express those identities? No, I think that we should be judged and hired based on our qualifications and our life experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, which I wanted to end this topic because I see where you're coming from. But when you said the last phrase, it made me thinking about legislation in many countries, and I think it's still working in the US that prohibits women from working in dangerous constructions or in coal mines, in conditions that can potentially affect their childbearing capability. So what do you think about that? Should women have the freedom, or is it wise to forbid women from working in places, minding that, well, maybe they will have children in the future, so maybe we should take care of that?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Are you asking if people should be forbidden from certain jobs based on what they have in their pants?
Let me make it clear by giving you a hypothetical example. Let's say we have a factory, and the working conditions on this factory are such that if a woman worked on it, her ovaries would face some issues because of the air, something like that, because of toxicity of
Oh, I see where you're going with this. You would have to be absolutely clear with any females that you hire that this is a possibility, and you would have to have them sign something that set aside any liability for future children that they might have born with disabilities because of this. And I would hope that you would try to exclusively hire females who either were perfectly fine with signing that waiver or who planned on not having children. Females like me. I am a female who does not want children. And so I would be okay with working in that factory. Do you see what I'm saying?
And again, you take a libertarian stance here. But here's where the moral question comes in. Say you, Johnny, work in this factory and you need this money. Okay, you really need it. But somehow in 10 years you change your mind and your worldview changes, so you want to have a child. And you think, okay, maybe I play the roulette, the genetic roulette, and attempt to have that baby. Maybe he will be alright. And you have it and it has issues. So wouldn't it be wise to prevent that by not letting you work there?
No, absolutely not. First of all, I have chosen not to have children, just like I have chosen to have a tattoo. Okay, that is a permanent choice that I have made. All right. I am by working in that factory, signing a waiver in this hypothetical that we have created together. I have signed a waiver that says I am aware of these risks and I have taken the risks. Just like when people smoke while they're pregnant, they already know the risks. They can't sue the cigarette companies because they smoked while they were pregnant. It wouldn't be a smart choice. It wouldn't be a smart choice on my part.
I'd love to hear.
But because this hypothetical company knows that people don't always make smart choices,
hope you enjoyed.
They have to protect themselves. Yeah. And I'm saying protect themselves with a waiver and with legal precautions. You're saying protect them by outright banning females from working there. And I'm saying that it's much simpler to just use a waiver.
Oh, that is true, but even in the case of, say, a woman who smokes, yes, she knows the risks and she knows the consequences. But when she has a child, and as a consequence of her smoking, this child has certain problems. The society still has a burden of taking care of that child in one way or another. So, say that woman has this child and with these problems, if we have a public healthcare that's publicly funded, it's free for all, yes, we will have to pay more just because this woman made this choice. So
you really should be.
But if
we have
it could have been
coolest
one instance of suffering could have been prevented by just taking this precaution of not allowing her to work there.
And one instance of that suffering could have been one instance of suffering would be
Making
directly
fun of us.
caused by me not being able to get that job just because I'm a female. Okay?
Anyway,
That's an
I'm
instance
out.
of suffering.
Take care.
And so you're saying that that instance of suffering and me